Metaphysics is going to have to be the quote-unquote religion of tomorrow. If it isn't, you're fucked. Totally and absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We are back. The Cult of Dangerous Gentlemen, the greatest think tank ever invented. And I stand by that. We're here to talk about some more current events. Some more wild shit going in the world that seems to have the internet on fire once again. And then I'm sure we'll get around to some permaculture and cult building too, to the people who wonder why we talk about this shit. But yeah, it's all in the game. So before we get started, just to make sure, checking in with everybody. How was everybody's week thus far?
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Plantation has been paying well.
Nice. Well, listen.
Nice, lovely.
That's an upgrade. If the plantation is paying, that's an upgrade. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely an upgrade. It could be worse. That's one of my favorite things I hear from people on the internet. You know, we got a lot of the hoteps and the pro-black types. They're like, if you a basketball player, you make $100 million a year, but you can't openly have an opinion about homosexuality or trans people or China, then you a slave. I'm like, well, show me anywhere in world history where slaves made $100 million a year for dunking a ball. And I'm sure they would have fought you to try to get them off that plantation.
We're here to free you. Come on, everybody.
Get out of here, B. Now, I'm chilling. All I do is dunk this ball and make $100 million. There's no fucking way I'm leaving.
No, we'll get
the
you.
white ones.
Oh,
We'll
yeah,
get
not
you
to
out of
mention
here.
that.
You can claim to be Jews. Come on.
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
say whatever you want. It's worth it.
Because that's what you really need. You don't need $100 million and an opportunity to bring people out of generational trauma and poverty. What you actually need is to wear fringes and dress like an Egyptian and claim stolen legacy. That's what you need to do. You need to be out here telling people that you're actually Jewish and not black. And if you can't do that, you're a slave. I love it. I love that whole paid slave narrative. As oxymoronic as it is, people dig it. So it's one of those things. But y'all see the title. The title of this week's episode is Three's Company, Who's Allowed to Bang Your Wife? And, you would think that this is an easily answered question, but you would be absolutely incorrect, according to the internet these days. There's a lot of nuance when it comes to the question of who's allowed to bang your wife. And so this all started, well, not started, but the most current iteration of this is these people that you're looking at here. So I know this is probably confusing. On one side, you got a guy being joined in holy matrimony with his beautiful wife. And on the other side, you have that same wife posing and about to be destroyed by a black porn star. And that's their words. I didn't make any of this up. This is what they're saying. But the funny part is, a lot of guys on the internet seem to be disparaging this guy, Adam 22, and he's a cuck and he shouldn't have let her do that. But the part they're leaving out is these two have been doing porn together for years, right? So she only works with him as a male performer, but they work with other women. So according to her story is that she's had over 300 threesomes with her husband. So most guys, right, are going to consider that winning. He's having a great time. He's winning. He's got porn. Well, however you feel about having a porn star wife, that's a different conversation. But he gets to reap all the benefits of it because he gets to have 300 threesomes. So when she decides to, take her career to the next level or explore options, however that thing gets rationalized, and bang one other guy, that somehow brings the entire house down. How does that one thing bring the whole house down if you've been having threesomes with her for years? They're married, they have a kid, and he's been able to keep her off other people's penises for all this time. Isn't that an accomplishment in and of itself? If you marry a porn star and she actually agrees to stop banging other dudes, that's a major accomplishment, right?
That's a plus.
How long did it go with no pipes?
Well, as far as I know, they've been together for a few years, so maybe 5-6 years, something like that. So in all that time...
They've been together longer than that, so that promise was probably made maybe like 10 years plus.
Right, so in all that time, she hasn't done any Well, I don't know what's going on in their real, private lives, but as far as they admit and say, and all her work on camera, she hasn't produced any uh, entertainment, any adult entertainment with any other men since she's been with Adam 22. Now, I'm just saying, just that part, that's a victory, right?
It's a victory.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, especially if she was already doing porn. Well, see, if she's already doing porn and you stop her, see, it goes both ways. If you're willing to marry a porn star, that means you clearly don't have the hang-ups and all of this stuff that most guys are going to have. They don't, her past and ran through and
You're
all
the
that
guy
kind
that's
of-
gonna fuck a prostitute raw and kiss her afterwards. That's pretty much what you're agreeing.
That's a leap. That's a leap. I mean, to some degree, he professed his love for her in that he put her in an exalted position as his wife. He's sharing space with her. He's sharing responsibilities. He's sharing resources, right? So it's a little more intimate than just banging a prostitute raw. A little bit.
It depends
No?
on how much you pay.
I don't know. I think it's all a joke, or like I don't know. Like, what's the purpose of just having this facade of marriage? This is basically telling me marry a porn star. She's the most loyal girl out of all these hoes out there.
Well, if she stopped
what it's
making
telling
porn with dudes the whole time, that's pretty
That's what
loyal.
That's what I'm
Most-
saying.
Think about this. Most guys, right, whether it's their girlfriends, okay, let's say married, over half of marriages end in divorce. That's not even counting the ones where people are cheating and not getting caught. So
Yeah.
just statistically, it's difficult to keep your wife away from other people's penises, even if she didn't used to be a porn star. So if you were able to keep a certified porn star away from other men for however many years, that's pretty major. That's no small feat. That's pretty major. And then they agreed. It's not like she didn't break up with him. She didn't disrespect him. There was no humiliation, which is why I'm not completely inclined to call him a cuck in this situation, because there's no humiliation involved. There's no this is just a business move to them. They're super successful already. They're making a whole bunch of money on YouTube. And I'm sure this just put both of their stock through the roof, because as we know from Howard Stern told us a long time ago, the people who hate watch consume more of your content than the people who love you.
Oh yeah.
So the guys who like Adam 22 and don't mind what he did, they're going to continue to watch at the same rate. The people who hate him and want to call him a cuck, and they're going to come over and go to all his videos and type hate in the comments. Like, they're just going to put his engagement through the roof. He's going to make a bunch of money. She's going to make a bunch of money because nobody's seen her with another guy in all of this time. And it's a black dude, so that's even worse. They're going to be like, oh, God. So it's just, all of the fetishes, all of that shit is going to come out and turn into dollars for them. So, and if they manage to, of course, this part remains to be seen, if they manage to keep their marriage together for any extended period of time after this, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think they won. They clearly don't have the same parameters for a relationship as other people do. So you can't judge them the same way that you would judge a regular situation. Oh, I would never let my wife do that. Well, would you have your wife on camera filming her insides all over websites everywhere where people can access it? Most people would say no to that. So if you wouldn't even do that, then you can't imagine all of the other things that they're partaking in their lifestyle. They're not the same. They're not the same as everybody else. So I think to call them a cuck, I get it. The math definitely works. I'm not saying that the math is completely off, but because they've been able to maintain this type of relationship for this long and there's no humiliation involved, she does still seem to respect, even though she did come on the show and say she was in pain for 3 or 4 days afterwards, which I feel like he should have flipped the table over when she said that, but he didn't flip the table over. So the guy, he's a Zen master, bro. I mean, I don't know what else you want. Most dudes would have put hands and feet on their wife after she did that.
Nice play on the simulation game. Nice play.
Yeah, it is major. I ain't mad at him at all, bro. If it works for you, I say take full advantage of it. Have a great time, make the money, do what you got to do. Who knows? Who knows where this goes? Maybe a year from now, she'll move in with the other guy, and then everybody will say, "I told you so." But it kind of looks like I don't think that guy's making as much money as Adam. He's having fun.
No.
He will now.
And
He has the opportunity now.
Maybe.
And think of the alternative though too, well, because we just saw this kind of humiliation with Will Smith, and he ruined his career in defense of Jada Pinkett, who turned August gay. She made him gay
allegedly
with that entanglement.
That's not alleged.
And
the last woman you slept would cause you to be gay.
Yes, and then Will Smith, to defend her bald honor, ruined his career. Like he's not the same Will Smith A-list caliber actor.
That's true.
His movies don't hit the same anymore.
The only thing he's done is a slave movie so far. So I mean, that tells you where his career's at. You went from saving the world from aliens and shit, and now you're a slave.
Right. Because he was trying to get that Academy love back. It's gone. You've dropped a tier. He's one of those ones. Like I think like Keanu Reeves, not a great actor, but does good movies, and from all reports is a remarkably moral and kind person. He could be eating babies in private. I don't know.
It's possible.
But Will Smith, right? Not a great actor. Arguably, kind of was in the same lane. Keanu Reeves, you might be able to call him the black Will Smith or the white Will Smith, right? Not a great actor, but has great movies and has had an amazing career and made huge amounts of money. But he dropped a tier. He dropped it like he was an A-tier dude, and now he's probably the highest he'll ever get again is probably like a C-list, C or B. He can't ever be an A-lister again. He's done. And so it wasn't worth it. Now this dude, on the other hand, he married a porn star. So I don't know why everybody is like, Jada Pinkett wasn't a porn star. You know what I mean? Arguably, that's more embarrassing. This dude went into it knowing, like, I've watched a woman who's basically going to have footage out there, her banging dudes, that literally anybody I meet, someone could see me at Starbucks and be like, you know what? Before I get this guy a coffee, I'm going to watch somebody bang his wife. I know this guy, and I can get on my phone right now, and I can even show it to him, hey, Adam, look at this dude banging your wife.
Right.
Like, you could bring it up to him
God.
at any moment. So he went into it, and I got to say, I don't, this isn't for me, but I don't agree with the lifestyle. I think it's going to be horrible for their kid, right? Like to come to terms with, because nobody likes to think about their parents banging. But if you're alive, your parents banged to make you, right? But there's always like some kind of sacred thing from your kids. Like, I don't want to know about mommy and daddy banging, right? So in a way, like, your kids should be your world, right? And you protect that from them. But you made the act that created them, you completely trivialized and put it all over the internet. And everybody knows, like, I don't know what the long-term psychological effects of that are. Like, porn was never as ubiquitous as it is now. So there's only a handful of kids who was like, people saw my mommy get banged, right? Because you probably don't know, porn stars weren't as popular, right? And kids didn't see porn like they do now. So, Billy's mom could be a porn star, and like in the 70s or 80s, you probably wouldn't have known it, right? But now everybody knows. So I don't know how that's gonna. I don't know if this is gonna be more school shooters. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen to these kids.
Oh man, this is her post from I think TikTok or something or whatever it is, and it says the best wedding gift. She's way too happy.
The
about
best
this,
wedding
bro.
gift.
Yeah.
That's
Look,
dirty.
no judgment. I can't.
Yeah, he's a cuck. He's a cuck.
Oh man, I mean, he don't seem to be feeling any pain, so I don't want to feel any pain for him.
He's hiding those emotions.
I don't want to assume.
But
any
that's
pain
what
for him.
that's what everybody's
Zen level.
That's what everybody's projecting on him, but everybody's projecting on him their values.
Right.
That's why I don't think it's a own. They're like, man, I wouldn't. And I kind of love what he said. He's like, look, everybody's trying to say that they're not racist. You like black people? Have you ever let a black man sleep with your wife? Well, I have.
Fair. That's fair.
I have. So
Hey,
I'm not racist.
That's
What?
fair game.
Listen,
That's
what
fair
this
game.
may be, I let black men sleep with my wife may be the new I have a black friend.
Right.
If black dudes know how to
That's
leverage
what
this
cucking
properly,
was all about.
this may
That's
be the
true
new
reason
way
for
to
cucking.
prove that you're not racist.
Damn. You know what? That's a fair question to ask, especially if somebody is trying to use any other metrics to prove that they're not racist. They're like, no, look, man, I'm not racist at all. Like, really? Are you? Have you ever let a black man bang your wife? And then just watch their face. Like, what? Is that your wife right
Bigot,
there?
and just start with the slurs from there. Bigot, transphobe. What does
Right.
transphobia have to do with
Doesn't
it?
matter.
Well, you
Just
just
say
fucking are. You're a transphobe. You're a bigot. You're a
Yep.
hateful person.
Call them
That is a-
names until other people in the establishment start to join in. And you
Right.
hear some white lady in the background yell, "You should leave." That's
You know-
when you've won.
You know what I call. You know what people are called that don't let black men sleep with their wives? Republicans.
Yep.
Republicans,
Oh, yeah.
white supremacists. That's what those
Yeah.
are called. You don't want to be one of those filthy creatures, do you?
You want to bring back
Yeah.
slavery, don't you?
Yeah, make America great again. Yeah,
Yeah.
back when you were keeping your wives to yourself, you fucking bigot.
Oh my gosh. I feel like
That's
this is
gonna
going
be
to
the
take
new
off
angle.
in California.
Absolutely. Already. It's just going to be homeless black dudes banging homeless white dudes' wives.
Karen,
Oh,
I know
yeah.
a way we don't have to be racist
Because
anymore.
that proves you're not racist or classist. So
If you live in a tent in California and let a homeless black man bang your homeless white wife in your makeshift tent, then you're not racist. And that's the only way to prove it. It's that particular piece of geography doing those particular tasks. That's the only way. Everyone else is clearly a bigot.
that is hardcore. Man, somebody's going to get a stomach ache. This is going to bother people big time. But it's fair. It's fair. It is a fair question. If you can use a black friend as a, but you know, how far does this friendship go? How good of friends really are you? Not like, oh, would you let him house sit for you or watch your pets and all that? That's not good enough. Does he have the PIN number? Like, can he get into your garage? Does he know where your hidden key is under the fake rock? Nope, not good enough. Have you let him inside your wife? That, if you can't answer that question with a yes, you might be a racist, and eventually in California that might be a jailable offense to not have let a black man bang your wife. That could be a jailable offense.
You know what? Where's the reparations council?
Yeah, exactly.
How is this not being worked into the paperwork here for reparations?
You know what? That might take off some of the money actually, because there's a lot of people.
You could lower the bill. Okay, we'll take a $300,000 payout instead of a $5 million payout, but we need access to white wives.
Yeah, we just need some cards we can swipe, like
Right.
somebody can
Let's
scan
drop
your
that to
QR code.
100,000.
Oh, and then you're registered as a non-racist.
Right.
You have to, just like a gun registry, you have to register your non-racism, and that puts you in a database of like almost like a website, and you may get the call like, "Hey, I'm here to cash in this month's reparation ticket for cuckery.
Damn.
Can we work this out?"
Yeah, you haven't been down to the non-cuck reparations office, so your taxes are going up. Your property taxes are going up.
Right, and
yeah.
and you're labeled.
Yeah.
Like they put you also on a public listing. Super racist.
Right, when you
It's
try
a
to go
super racist, Doc.
when you try to go eat at Mr. Chow's or something, they got facial recognition outside the restaurant, and
Oh,
your
shit.
bill is 35% higher as soon as you walk in. You know it's going to be a surcharge because you haven't let your wife get plowed by a black man. So we're going to assume you're
Damn.
racist, and we're just going to charge you extra. And if there's any black people in the restaurant, that surcharge goes to their bill.
Psh, you know, let black man bang your wife. You pay double. Mr. Chow has to have that conversation with you at the counter when you go to swipe your card. To
A
explain
sign
the bill.
comes on, a neon sign comes on. It's like hot now at fucking Krispy Kreme. It's like, yo, there's a racist white man here. Negroes eat half off while he's here. Just take full advantage of it. Good Lord, this is a terrible, terrible world we're describing. But part of me feels like it's only a rock skip away.
Definitely beats the I have a black friend.
Oh yeah,
Listen,
yeah, black
if-
friend is
if-
off the table from
Throw it
now
away.
on. It's gone. It's gone.
Throw it away.
It was
I've been
always
to bang a
shaky.
black
Nothing.
man.
It was always shaky, to be honest. Like, I got a black friend is always just like, oh, that makes you kind of sound more racist. But now, yeah, let a black man bang my wife. The conversation ends there. You can't call that man racist.
Yeah, there's no more accusations flying out of there.
And it only
Not
works
after
with black
that.
guys too. Like if you let a mixed guy bang or a Mexican, like that don't count. You
Yeah,
Spanish,
Drake
like nah,
type
yeah,
doesn't
no
count,
Drakes, that don't count, bro. That don't count. It's got to be 100% Negro. It's got. I know this is terrible, but I don't know why this is so funny. I feel like there's a whole legion of white dudes that are going to be like, you know what? I think if that'll get me out from under having the word racist hung over my head, that's like you giving white men a trump card, bro.
Dude, hold their feet to the fire. Just lean in. This is quintessential unity trolling.
It is.
Do it. Listen, virtue signalers all over social media. We believe you. We think you're sincere. Sign up for the registry. Expect the call at least once a week. How many, like, if you settle for less, what is it, you know, I guess there would be once a month tickets. I don't know how many tickets you get in lieu of, you know, $4.5 million.
It depends on how much money you make.
Bill.
Depends on how much money you make. The richer you are, the more you're going to have to give out. In once ain't going to cut it. Yeah,
okay.
we're going to have to, it's going to be like, yeah, you got to keep it up to date. It's like registration. You got to, you know, your registration is up. Like, I let a black man bang my wife and they scan your QR code. You're like, that was in 2019. You have, you're way behind in arrears.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
It's the only way Mel Gibson can get his career back.
Right.
Listen, he's still making fire movies. His movies are still Dragged Across Concrete was dope.
That was dope.
Get the Fat Man was weird, but also still dope. His movies are still good, undeniably.
Mel Gibson has done no wrong.
Mel Gibson,
as far as I'm
Gibson
concerned,
does good work.
He's done no wrong as far as I'm concerned. Wasn't he the one who introduced us to the term egg penis? Was that Mel Gibson?
No, Oven Dodger.
Oven Dodger. You're right.
He called Winona Ryder an Oven Dodger.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let's be fair. He didn't call her an Oven Dodger. He asked her if she was an Oven Dodger.
Okay. It was inquisitive.
It was inquisitive. He said,
It wasn't
"You're not
declarative.
an Oven Dodger, are you?"
Fair.
So that's a lot more clever. That's a lot more clever.
Charming.
You're not
That's
one of those
Aussie
people
charm.
who tried to save your own life, are you? You're not one of those. I loved it. I'm sorry. I know to me, it doesn't feel like any other racial slur I've ever heard in my life. You can't put it in the same category as the N-word, as the K-word, as cracker. Like, there's nothing you can say. Any other, not nothing. There's nothing you can say that you can file as far as racial slurs go that you can file in the same folder as Oven Dodger.
Absolutely not. And
Oven
as far
Dodger's
as I
special.
know, it's very special. It sounds so innocent
It
and
is.
innocuous, and it's factually correct. It's absolutely correct, but it
dodged
still
the
has
oven.
a sting to it.
Right, because it makes you feel guilty. Like, it makes you feel like you should feel
Survivor's
bad.
guilt. It's instant survivor's guilt.
Which
And-
is almost like a key. Dude, it's just perfect. For the people he aimed it at versus the nuance and the intellectualness of the word, it might be the perfect slur.
Absolutely. And let's not overlook the fact that he also coined pack of Rogans.
Right.
Previous to that, I had never heard of youths or scholars or joggers referred to as being in a pack. Never until Mel Gibson coined that terminology.
Yeah.
So he's left us some gems.
Yeah, saying
God bless Mel Gibson.
First of all, you got to be a gangster to wish a trip to the vineyard, graping as it's called, on your. Was that currently his ex-wife, or were they just separated? Was it still his legal wife?
Yeah, they were still. Yeah,
All right.
they were on a trip when those tapes got released, and he was saying, or it was right after a trip, like talking about, I was in the jacuzzi. You know, all you needed to do was come out and blow me. Like it was. You know, it was part. You were seeing into his method. There's a reason he's a great actor.
Yeah, to wish a trip to the vineyard on your current wife, and for that trip to be vineyard that trip to the vineyard to be led by a pack of Negroes. That's hardcore. Like I feel like he's seasoned and marinated that
He's
one.
a poet.
That wasn't a freestyle.
He's an absolute poet.
That wasn't a freestyle.
He's the troubadour of our times.
He really is.
He's amazing. He's a
know
national
that came
treasure.
from pack of Negroes and Oven Dodger came from the same mind.
One man.
Yeah,
right.
That's like seeing two Van Goghs in the same museum. You're like, fuck, this guy's talented, bro.
He bottled lightning twice. He bottled racist lightning twice.
In the same era. He's an amazing man. He's an amazing man. He made a movie about Jesus, and he used his own hands to do the crucifixion.
By the way,
he's like, let me bang these nails in.
Great work. Great work to make a movie for a book that we've all read.
Right,
Great
that's
work.
true. That's true. I can't.
No plot twists or anything. You just knew exactly what was gonna happen.
Yeah, I've
and
never
didn't
seen
even
anything like it.
do it in English.
Shout out to the Jews that were upset, even though this book has been out for billions of years.
Right, there was. What do you want a spoiler alert on that motherfucker? Like, trigger warning. Like, nah, you know what's gonna happen. You came up.
I went to that movie and I went straight to sleep. I think I was in middle school. I was like, I'm not watching this.
Oh,
shit.
you're going to hell,
I read
bro.
the book.
You're going to hell.
But
You fell asleep.
I read the book. Listen, it's an amazing film. He forced everybody to speak in Aramaic. I mean, that's a daunting undertaking for a filmmaker. I don't know, man.
That's true.
He's a talented dude, man.
That's true.
Look, but this is what for this whole Adam 22 thing, man. I guess the logical, because everybody that's trying to own him, it doesn't make sense trying to own him. He's not living the life that you're living. If what you're saying is he needs to go and kill that man, then you're also a racist and you're violent because you're advocating for murder. They had this arrangement. They were okay with it. But I guess the next logical question is like, are we done with sexual immorality yet? Like, are we like, have we seen how bad it is for civilization? Like, everybody's getting to fuck and being motivated by fucking as much as possible and has as much access to it as possible. And we have more people not fucking than ever, right? We've got a whole bunch of incels that can't get access to any women. And then there's a whole bunch of rich dudes who are passing around the larger swath of available women. And nobody's happy. Nobody's staying together. The majority of people. And it's not just, people that, religious people would try to dunk on, like, oh, it's disgusting, it's a cuck, and da-da-da. Not everybody in the church is cheating on each other, too. Yeah. Marriages are ending all over the place. Nobody is wanting to grow and connect and be with another human being for a lifetime. Like, and that's the oldest origins of the whole practice. Yeah, there's some property rights in there. We got a little bit more enlightened to say, okay, the property rights work in both ways, right? Some of us, but a lot of us still want to have the old paradigm. If he was banging as many women as possible and his wife wasn't banging anybody else, right? A lot of dudes would get behind that. Nobody would look at that and say, well, that's kind of unfair. You should be cucked. If you're going to have equity in this relationship, there needs to be some cuckery or you can't bang other chicks. So if anything, I mean, at least he's a little bit more fair. But I mean, the product that he's making, okay, there's more porn. Porn is destroying all of our minds. Porn is terrible. Yeah. Porn is absolutely evil. You should not be watching.
To this day.
Dude, it's harder than crack, the kid. It's harder than cigarettes because it's readily available.
It's free.
Listen, the Amish had it right. Listen, how do you cheat on your wife if you're in a tribe of 200 people and everybody knows each other and looks out for each other and depends on each other for survival? You are so much less likely because you would be so much more of a piece of shit to bang somebody else's wife when everybody knows each other and everybody is bound in a common purpose. Yeah. But if you live in the midst of Babylon and everybody can be a stranger and we can all anonymous fuck and there's so many people condensed into roach cave skyscrapers in a really small area, you can, the chances that you're going to get caught are a lot slimmer. The opportunity to get with people behind other people's back presents itself a lot more. And if you got some of these electronic devices, you can see shit whenever you want. So it's also something about like culture making it almost impossible to get rid of, and also making it socially acceptable. Like, I think in the 80s or 70s, when you were a weirdo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're one of them creepy dudes in a trench coat that went to a theater. Like, Pee Wee Herman had an amazing show. Jerked off one time. Well, he probably jerked off a lot of times.
He got caught
Gets
once.
caught jerking off one time in a movie theater. He's done. His whole career is over. He invented a talking couch and a gypsy that lived in a TV, and he's
Destroyed
done.
his life, and as a kid, I was so upset. He was my favorite.
Yeah, I didn't
Destroyed
see
his
him
life.
again till Blow, and he
Yeah.
did a great job. Good for him. But and the hypocrisy, because and this is why
And he
everybody's
did it
full of
in
shit.
an adult theater, correct?
Right.
Well, you still
Where-
not. I don't
If he
think
did it in a
that's-
children's shoe store, it would be different.
Like
He
most
did it
baby eaters do.
Right. But
He actually went to an adult.
right. Like, if there's ever a designated place to jerk off in public, it's when you're sitting in a chair surrounded by other people
Who are
looking at
also-
people having
This is why
sex.
he made great child shows and fucking cartoons. He did adult shit. But these fucking
Right.
baby
He
eaters, they
probably need to do it.
Well,
It's like,
you know,
I'm
to
around
be
kids
fair-
all
He's
day
like,
and I'm
around
not a
kids all
pedophile.
day.
Like,
I'm
I
not
need
a
some
pedophile,
adults
I'm not a
fucking.
diddler.
To
I
be
gotta
fair
go check
though,
off at the adult theater.
I can't think of too many jobs that you wouldn't lose if you got caught beating off at an adult theater. Like if you worked at the local pizza place, there's not too many, because even though out of all the places you could be doing it, this is the best place for you to do it. Everybody's kind of agreed to be in this place at this time watching pornography. It's a legitimate business. I think the greatest
Okay, I
society.
got a question for you. If you're gonna stand by that, how many people that went to Jeffrey Epstein's island got fired?
That's different.
There's a whole list of people.
That's different because we're not talking about regular people. Most of these people could,
Okay.
yeah,
Fair enough.
most of these people could do a lot of shit in public view. And this is, and Epstein's Island is still speculation, quote unquote, right? We don't know for sure what, if, it's all gray areas, and they're celebrities, they're rich people, they're politicians. It would be different. Like if a politician.
I hope Alan Dershowitz gets caught jerking off in a Starbucks just so we can test this theory.
Then we might be able to do. Listen, if a
That's
politician,
the only way we're going to be able to science this thing out.
if one of the people from Epstein's flight logs pulled up outside the local park and kicked
Designer
your
tried to do
son,
it.
kicked your son in the balls, and then got back in his limo and drove off, it would be really difficult for you to get him fired and sue him successfully or anything like that. And that's what people, if witnesses, it doesn't matter because these people are so rich and so powerful. It's hard to punish them for anything. Now, you got a regular guy, anybody who was in that theater doing what they were doing. I think the greater society around that place wants to believe that people are just going in there, watching a movie, and then going home. They don't want to think that these guys are in here, beating themselves off watching porn. They're like, you know what, I'm not even going to think about it. I see the 3 X's outside the theater. All the windows are blacked out. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to walk by and get on with my life. But Pee Wee Herman confirmed a lot of people's greatest fears. Oh, these guys are in there banging each other and beating off and shit like that. It's weird. No matter what you did when you worked at the local Home Depot, you was probably going to get fired. But because you have a children's show on TV, you definitely got to go now. We
But
appreciate you wasn't doing nothing with kids. Like we appreciate you, but that's still considered public indecency or whatever it is, indecent exposure. So I guess he just wasn't famous enough back then to pull it off. But now, since we see behind the scenes of so many people's lives, celebrity isn't as mystical as it used to be. We know everything going on, but it's one of the most richest and famous women on the planet right now. Everybody saw her getting smashed from the back by an R&B singer a few years ago. And everybody just got on with their lives. She got a TV show. Both of them got TV shows. Like, this was unheard of. 20 years ago, a sex tape comes out. Pamela Anderson never fully recovered from her sex tape.
With her husband.
With her husband. Never fully recovered. So imagine now a sex tape is a legitimate path to fame. That tells you how weird shit is. How weird shit is getting. But I think Pee Wee just beat off a little too early. If he had waited 20 years and then got caught beating off, he might have got a reality show or
If
something
he
like that.
filmed himself beating off to Kim Kardashian and Ray J, he never
that's-
would have.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
he
his
would have
way
been
back.
invited to Epstein's Island.
Right. He
his
would have
way
been
back.
on Ray J's show. You know, they would have been. Right. It would have been an awkward scene where Kim Kardashian, Ray J, and Pee Wee Herman end up at the same Starbucks or something like that. I could see the camera cutting from one to the other. They all staring at each other
The
like a
eyes
standoff.
darting.
Yeah, like a Mexican standoff. Yeah, exactly. So he was just too early. The world's changed a lot since we were young. Just thinking, I haven't thought about that in a long time. But just thinking when we came from an era where a guy touching himself ruined his career, and pornography with your husband ruins your career, to now it's just a free for all. Now you can just make a sex tape. Yo, one of the
And
women,
be the most influential woman on social media.
right? Everybody
Who has
loves
more
you.
followers?
Nobody. Everybody loves you. You know what? Let me Google something real quick. Should I put this up? Yeah, I'll put it up on screen real quick. I just want to Google and see most followers on Instagram.
The gram.
Most followers on Instagram. Who are the top 5 most followed? Ronaldo, 2 soccer players, Selena Gomez, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and Kim Kardashian.
Selena Gomez is the top.
Well, I don't know if this is in order, and I don't know. This is
She
from,
made a
this is
beautiful,
from
beautiful
2023.
video recently because I think she broke a record.
Who?
It's
Selena
fantastic.
Gomez?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Selena Gomez made a beautiful video. You just said?
No, you know who I'm thinking about? Salima Hayek. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, Selma Hayek.
Salma
Okay, I was
Hayek.
about to
Salma
say. Did you just say Selena Gomez made a
forgot she's
beautiful
like-
video?
She's the virgin angel right now. I forgot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She did like some "I'm old but I'm still hot" kind of video.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that. So 596 million for a soccer player, 645 million for a person I never heard of. I don't know who that person is.
Wow.
Messi, another soccer player, 478. Selena Gomez, at least she actually does something. You know, she's a singer. Kylie Jenner, that's not your face, 395 million. The Rock, 385, and that's not like misogyny. It was just the first thing that came to mind when I saw her, because I remember Ariana Grande. So, Kim Kardashian has kind of fallen out of the graces. Yeah, so she's
I
down
don't
to
know.
360 million now.
Yeah, but isn't that like more people than in the entire United
Well, that's
States?
good that the women that are top of her are actually like
And Beyonce
good women to look
Who
up.
never had a sex tape.
never had a
And
sex
it's-
tape.
yeah,
She
and
earned
is
it.
destined to be behind.
and whose
Kim
hit
Kardashian
squad
forever.
will destroy your life and career.
There's 3 Kardashians in the top 20.
Damn, or top 10.
And then, and top 10. And then Nike, which are exploitation of child labor, allegedly.
Justin Bieber, the female. Selena Gomez, female.
Right.
Yeah,
Kim
Right.
Kardashian, or male.
And I'm sure
rather.
he paid,
Yeah.
you know.
definitely the male.
Kendall Jenner, another Kardashian.
Damn. So
Nat
4 in the
Geo.
top 15.
Nat Geo. Yeah.
And he almost got in trouble for going to have sex with prostitutes in Brazil, but it's like, bro, it's legal.
Taylor
But dude,
Swift.
in some way, Nat Geo is connected to all of this.
Nat Geo is
Nat Geo is the bringer of all.
Yeah, Nat
This is
Geo
it's
is
the original
the
pedophile
kingpin.
pedo place.
Yeah, they're the
Is
kingpins.
Nat Geo.
And if, just in
Oh.
case people
Wait a
don't
minute.
know,
There's another one?
another
Hold on.
one. Yeah, all of them are on there.
In top 20.
And they don't do
Holy
anything.
Shit.
Miley Cyrus, I get it. You know, it makes sense. This is the world we live in. I'm not mad. This is not some old man thing that I'm doing. Like, what's going on with the world? No, I get it. I totally
It's high
get
school. It's
High
high
school
school.
shit,
These are
exactly.
all high school people who would have been the popular kids.
It is. I do
They're
think
all
it's
dumb.
fairly destructive. Just because
It's completely destructive.
Yeah, I
Yes.
do think it's destructive but it's not destructive innately. It's destructive because there's not enough personal work being done in the rest of the world. People are not doing enough work to look at a face that has multiple Botox injections and surgeries and shit like that, and they don't have the tools to look at that face and say, this is not reality. This is not something that I should
It's
aspire
keeping
to.
us from living in Mars.
Well, I wouldn't go to Mars. I think
Social-
personally that Mars is for white supremacists. So I think.
But I'm just saying, humans cannot go. If humans just cut off social media, we'll be advanced 1,000 years.
But then we'd be destroying Mars, and then that's all that would
But
happen.
that's the Martians' problem.
See, exactly, and that's the human condition right there. Fuck them. I don't get. Fuck you. Hooray for
Go
me.
move to Jupiter, bitch.
I think if there was enough work being done on a personal level to not be so dragged down into the abyss of self-hatred by seeing falsities on social media, it would be a different world. But the brain is what it is. It does what it does. People look at this and they aspire to it on such a level that they're willing to hurt themselves and cause harm to themselves to try to strive to reach something that's unattainable naturally.
It's a lie.
Yeah, it's a lie. But people love the lie.
These people are not happy.
People love
all
the
the
lie.
time.
I was talking to my lady earlier today about, the whole sexual marketplace politics and relationship issues that are going on. I hear so many of these conversations, and I was just reminded about this woman that we know, and she posted on Facebook one time, and she said, as a man, if you have to lie to a woman, if you have to lie to get women, then you have no game. And I posted and I commented that the game is the lie. And she was disagreeing with me. She's like, nah, that's not true. You don't get what I'm saying. And I'm just
It shouldn't be a game.
No, exactly. You're saying you don't have no game. That means you're not lying enough to me.
If it's a game, there's
you're
liars,
not lying
there's
the right
cheaters,
way.
There's someone who does it better.
Yeah,
Like, come on.
you
It's
don't
a
have
game.
no game. What do you think game is? Under what impression do you think? It's not personality. It's not charisma. Game is the lie. And this is what people, they require it. And it's like that on social media all across the board. If you come out and you say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing, and I'm learning, I'm getting better, and I appreciate you guys for watching. Some people might dig it. But if you come out and say, I'm the best, fuck everybody else, if you're not as good as me, you should off yourself. You're going to get a lot more traction, a lot more attention. Maybe some people will be angry and hating on you. Other people will be like, yeah, go, son, tell them. And it'll just generate so much more traction because people are deeply, deeply attracted to this super egotistical, fake it till you make it, I'm perfect and you suck. Like, they just love it. They gravitate to it. So if it works, I'm one of those people that say, if it works, then you got to do what you got to do. Anything you can do and sleep at night is you're not really selling out. You're not really being, like the only time I would say you need to take a deeper look at your actions is if you're doing something that affects you on a level that doesn't allow you to look at yourself in the mirror. It doesn't allow you to sleep at night. You feel terrible as soon as the camera goes off. Then I think you may want to take a look at your alignment versus what you project onto the world. But if you turn your camera on and you say, yo, if you don't have $1 billion, you're a bum. If you don't bang 100 chicks a night, you're a piece of shit. Fuck you. And then you go right to sleep and you sleep like a baby. What are you doing wrong? Especially if you're winning, your videos are getting views. People are calling you for mentorship and paying you $1,000 a session. What could you possibly be doing wrong?
Grifting. Getting involved in the same drug dealing that the rest of the marketplace is doing. I'm going to give you something of little to no value. I'll even give you something that's going to be poison. Right. But as long as you're willing to give me money in exchange for it, I really don't care if it improves your life or not. Right. I'm kind of, and the reason I ask that is like, are we sick of this yet? Like, we want to throw everything away from the past and of traditions. Like, nah, that's some dumb, ignorant, outdated shit. Why the fuck would we have any kind of semblance of sacredness in our responsibility of creating and bringing and raising new life onto the planet and preparing to send it out into the world? Why would we want to have some sort of stable, committed relationship where we can grow together and learn from each other and challenge each other and bond and create a strong family and racial? Why would we want that? We can get banged in Dubai. We can get banged in Dubai on a yacht. I can let a black man bang my wife to show how not racist I am. I can do that. It's at our fingertips. It's readily available for us. So I don't know. The traditional shit just starts to look more and more like, I think because people felt like they were forced to do it. It's like, well, you're taking away my options. Okay, this is what unfettered freedom looks like.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody fucking, nobody being mature, nobody raising their children properly. Everything is this, and I really think the Amish got to figure it out. I don't think you can escape this shit. You know, the pornography, the promiscuity. Like, if the more that you're around to the center of like these Babylonian cave towers, there's no way around it. And even when you're out in your life, right, and maybe you're living somewhere where you're away from it, now you got a digital device that just keep dragging you back in. Well, maybe you're not around it, but here you go. You can see it. Here you go. Here's something to put your conscious focus on. Here you go.
Yeah, it's a fact. It's in the compendium. When everything is sacred, we destroy each other, and when nothing is sacred, we destroy ourselves. That's how it works. You put everything on a really high pedestal, it's just a path to judgment. Oh, he didn't pray for 5 hours like the rest of us. Stone him to death. He's working on the Sabbath. Like, it makes you really start to point fingers at everybody else and watch every little step they make to judge them and move them down the ranks, and that's just what the brain does. And if nothing is sacred, you take all of the boundaries away, you take all of the ideology away, and we destroy ourselves. We start dumping drugs in ourselves, we try to bang everything that moves, we consume a bunch of porn and terrible shit. So there's somewhere in the middle, and maybe different communities are going to have to decide that for themselves. You know, what we do on our cult compound might be a little bit different from your cult compound. Maybe we watch Harry Potter and you don't, because you're like, no, magic is evil. I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm going to let my kids watch Lord of the Rings. You know what I'm saying? But we got to work this shit out and see what happens. We got to have a Rumspringer. We got to have a Rumspringer on our compound. So I'm pretty sure people know what this is, but just in case, let me throw this up on the screen here. It's something that the Amish and Pennsylvania Dutch have installed in their religious communities, because they understand that you can't just lock people in. You can't just be like, this is what we're doing and that's the end of it, because you're going to have people hopping the gates trying to escape. So Rumspringer is a rite of passage and period of growth in adolescence for some Amish youth, during which time they face fewer restrictions on their behavior and are not subject to the ordnung, or the order, the specific system of unwritten community norms. Some of them, they just let them leave. They let them leave for a weekend. I think
Discovery Channel did a documentary about that.
They let them leave for a weekend or something like that. So you leave the compound, you go to a strip club, you smoke a cigarette, you have a beer, you go out there, you get the taste of the world. Some of them don't come back. Some of them come running back because they're like, bro, it's fucking crazy out there. I just want to come back here and churn some butter and build a barn. And I wouldn't blame you.
It's the best way. It's the best way.
Yeah, I think so too.
You show them and you tell them Babylon is bad.
Yeah, go ahead.
And
go
then
check
when
it
they're
out.
old enough,
go check it out.
Go. Here's the money. Here's the
Smoke
clothes.
the whole pack.
Go take it all.
Dude, I got kind of a righteous grift. Like, we should like be the scared straight people for Amish youth. Like, just go there and it's like, listen, you just we'll build you your first house. We'll build you a barn. Like, we have jams and exotic jellies, homemade, that we can provide you. Like, they're probably not going to pay us in cash, but we'll get something out of it just to go there. It's like, listen, I know what your mom and dad are telling you sounds absolutely insane. You have no idea how fucking evil and dark and debaucherous it is out there. Maybe 30 or 40 years ago, I would have been like, look, you kids are basically prisoners. Like, come have an ice cream cone. Stop this madness. But now it's like, nope, you guys had the right idea the whole time.
Yeah. We should load it. It will do it a real scared straight. We find out when people are doing their Rumspringer, and we make sure to like knock him over in the alley and take his wallet and like do a bunch of terrible shit. It's like, it was a movie. Oh no, it's not a movie. It's a TV show. Gosh, what's the name of this show? Arrested Development, where every time he wanted to teach his kids a lesson, he had like this guy who would show up
Arrested
and get
Development.
Yeah, he would have an accident. His arm ripped off.
Yeah.
They like, see, and that's how you get the lesson.
Paid,
yeah, we could do that in the Rumspringer. We just do some terrible shit. Make sure they, But either way, see, Legit said here is, Rumspringer is abusive because they don't prep their kids for the world in an unbiased way. I don't think that's abusive. Like, you don't have to. If you live the way you live on an Amish compound, right? And you want people to see the outside world, all you got to do is let them go. Just let him go. Drop him off at the closest, like, downtown and see what happens. Give him a couple dollars. He's probably going to get overcharged for some shit. Somebody might try to hurt him. He's going to go to a strip club. All of these experiences, the world doesn't really need you to prep for it, I think, in that way. What they want them to see is the reality of what's happening out there. Yes, there's some places that they could possibly drop them off where people are nicer and they might have a better experience, but that's not the stuff that you need to that's what you don't really need to let them see, the depth of that, because what's going to hurt them the most is the worst of the worst. Just take them to Vegas. Drop them off on the Vegas Strip and be like, yeah, we'll come pick you up in 3 days. At the end of 3 days on the Vegas Strip, you either want to go back home and churn some butter, or you're never going back home and you're going to move in with a stripper. I think either one of those is fair for that person. What kind of prep can you really give a guy who grew up on an Amish compound? How do you prep him for the world? That world, because that's what they're trying to get them to avoid. They're not trying to get them to avoid small town kindness where somebody will bake a pie and bring it by to you to say hello as a neighbor. Like, what they want them to avoid is the sharp teeth and claws of the world where people are going to fuck you over and destroy you. And I think it's fair, mostly because they do so much to create a sequestered experience. Like I said, I don't know all the politics. I don't know if they slap their wives around in there. I'm not positive. And if they do, they keep it out of the public eye, so it's kind of their business. Like, I don't condone wife slapping on my compound. I wouldn't want it to happen. I wouldn't instruct anybody like, hey, your wife's been bugging lately. You might want to go across her head a couple times. Like, I wouldn't do that. But whatever you doing on your compound, I'm really not trying to get involved unless it spills out. Like, if we wake up one morning and your wife is bloody, running full speed, trying to climb the fence and shit, we might have to get involved. But if she's just staying over there baking bread with a black eye, what am I gonna do?
She's happy.
Yeah, what am I gonna trespass? Am I gonna trespass to rescue her?
I don't want to get involved.
I can't get involved. I can't. I'm sorry. I know how that sounds. It's terrible. They could be abusive. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm not saying that they're perfect. What I'm saying is they have an extremely.
They don't have sex tapes.
You don't have sex tapes. No, I'm pretty sure none of their daughters are on OnlyFans. Like, I just listen. Yeah, as long as we don't hear the screams, it's all good. Like, hey, listen. I know you're kind of being facetious, but I kind of agree with that statement. If I don't hear the screams, if they're not coming to me, I'm serious, because anything beyond that is me projecting my ideology onto you.
It's only going to get worse.
And I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to project my ideology onto you.
The person getting abused is going to say that you're the crazy one.
No, if your wife or your kid jumps the fence and they ask for like political asylum or some shit like that, maybe we got to call the cops. We got to have a conversation. Something got to happen. But if every time I leave, they're just standing in the front yard and they wave to me, hey neighbor, I'm good. I'm not sniffing around. I'm not looking for no evidence. Hey, where's your wife? I haven't seen her in a few months. Oh yeah, she's on vacation. All right, okay. Well listen, I don't know what to say, bro. Look, I don't have no time to play private investigator on what you're doing on your compound. I really don't. It would suck. Like I said, I don't condone any of that shit. I wouldn't allow it to happen on mine. But that's what the greater society structure is for. That's what the cops are for, the FBI and shit like that. That's what they're for. That's not for your next door neighbor to start That's how you fucking disappear. I'm not doing it. I got shit to do, bro. I got shit to do. I'm sorry. I don't want nobody to get hurt. I don't want nobody to have to suffer. But I also understand it's not my business to play superhero and jump in on somebody else's shit. Especially if I don't have all the details.
Evidence.
Bro, there's societies, and especially in like Polynesia and shit like that, where they got some big, tough ass women over there. They ain't a whole bunch of little dainty flowers. They got mouth tattoos and they do the haka. Like, they tough over there, and they beat the shit out of each other. So if you come up on that culture and you don't have a full context of what's going on over here, you be like, hey, get your hands off of her. They might both join forces and whoop your ass. Because you don't know what's going on. It's not for you to poke your nose in. You got to understand what's happening here. But it is what it is. That's their business. I think the Amish have an extremely powerful model of keeping everything to themselves. They're not suffering from mad diseases. They don't have if they do have a bunch of inbreds, they throwing them off a cliff or they mulching them or something. We ain't seen them. Whatever they doing is successful because nobody else has to get involved. When the outer community has to get involved, when they like, yo, something stink over there, y'all burying bodies. Like when the outer community has to get involved, that's when you fucking up. But other than that, they seem to be minding their business and doing pretty good. They're selling handmade products to the outside world, so they're probably making a good amount of money. They choose to not use electricity and a whole bunch of fanciful.
They're not blowing things up.
They're not blowing shit up. There's no religious ideology where they, have their
They're not
beards.
trying to convert you or bugging you early in the morning.
That's one of the major things. They're not trying to get you in there with them. They like, nah, fuck you and fuck everything you're doing. We're going to stay. Abuse, okay, legit again, abuse thrives in the shadows. So does improvement. When you leave people alone and lead them to their own devices, sometimes in those communities people get hurt. Sometimes when you leave people alone, you unplug from social media, you take your life offline. Maybe that's where some people grow and improve. They start to meditate, doing psychedelics, and they get better. So all I'm saying is, and I'm not saying if we have evidence of abuse and they fucking people up over there, then we just let them do it because they decided to.
No,
I'm just saying
you get involved.
they've managed to keep everything so quiet and so sequestered. The outside community doesn't necessarily have a reason to go sniffing around. They're quiet. They don't bother anybody. They ride through town on their horse and buggy and they go back home. What reason do I have to start snooping and following them? Oh, their women wear dresses all the way down to the ankle. That ain't right. I want to see what's going on over there. That's other people projecting their shit and into other people's situations, other people's lifestyles and all of that. I don't know what they're doing behind them walls. And the fact that we don't know what they're doing behind them walls kind of speaks to their success. There's not too many places especially in America, there's no institution except the Catholic Church where you can consistently abuse children and nobody knows about it, nobody takes any action. Like you can't have a string of daycare centers where it's just your culture to fuck the kids up and beat them up and then you send them home and nobody says nothing. Like from Epstein,
oh man, we need to make that daycare.
Where you just beat the kids up.
Because the Catholic Church is like the only place where they have a history of destroying children's life, and people still go there religiously. So there needs to be a daycare equivalent of that.
I think if you have a daycare
fend for
center,
yourself daycare,
you just got to put it in
toughen them up.
As long as you put it in the terms and conditions, they can't do nothing. Like when
little calluses,
they come pick up their kid. And the kid got a black eye and shit. They're like, wait, what happened? Like, yo, terms and conditions, bro. He was talking crazy at nap time. So, you know what I'm saying? I had to go take him out in the back and see him for a couple minutes. But, yeah, other than the Catholic Church, nobody's been able to destroy children on such a consistent basis for so long. And everybody just acts like it's not happening.
Yeah, dude, the Catholic Church got to do it brazenly.
Brazenly. They don't give a shit.
Well, who was it? Was it Charlemagne? Who was the king that was like, all right, y'all could just have this land. Y'all are just your own state now. So one of them European kings gifted it to them or allowed them to be their own thing. So when the time came, it's like, listen, we hear there's a lot of records of children getting violated. This may be the most organized, ongoing abuse of children in the history of the world. We need to see some documentation. Sorry, it's at the Vatican. You have no jurisdiction there because some European king hundreds of years ago said we're our own shit, so you can't see the records. But we know you're diddling the kids, and yeah,
it's amazing.
That's amazing to me that people still never has there been a reason for a mass exodus from a religious institution. You know what I mean? Like, what CEO? Right? Like, if you found out Jamie Dimon, the CEO of Chase Bank, there was rampant child abuse at Chase Bank. Like, there was a little kiosk. You'd go there. It's like, hey, while you're banking, we'll watch your kids. And it was just the bang room, the kid bang room, and it was going on for years. And Jamie Dimon was hiding all the files. Like, we didn't want to fire him, because we're not really against banging the kids. We're against getting caught. And this was only the second time he got caught, so we didn't want to fire him. There would be people you know what? No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. They would keep like, listen, J.P. Morgan they give me the lowest rate on my credit card.
Right.
Let's not be hasty. A little
Right.
child abuse isn't worth paying an extra 9%.
Like exactly, it's all about the exchange. Because if it wasn't, Catholic priests would be getting dragged out in the street and beat to death, and nobody's doing that. Has any parent? You know what? Remember in the was it the 80s when the karate teacher kidnapped the kid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, karate teacher kidnaps the kid, keeps him for a couple weeks, does all kind of unspeakable shit to him, but fortunately the child was returned alive. They catch the karate teacher, they locking him up, they got him in the airport, taking him, and the guy did have a smug little smile on his face, like he didn't give a fuck, like he had a judge in his pocket. I'm not going to get a lot of time. I don't know what he was thinking, but he didn't look like a person who just got caught and was about to get indicted for kidnapping, abusing a child. And the dad posted up in the airport and he shot homie in the head as they were walking him by. And he didn't have no remorse. He didn't give a fuck, and he didn't do no jail time.
In one of the greatest, like, great moments in football history, kind of events. You know what I mean? Like it's like the turnaround fadeaway jumper
Right.
at the buzzer.
Yeah,
like
he did
right
the
at the right
cross-arm
moment,
shot.
he just turned around and popped him right in the head, weaved through, managed not to get seen.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Didn't
By
even
by
put the
cops
phone
with
down.
him.
He kept the ruse going. He kept the phone up to his ear. And
No,
shit.
I'm still thinking he was probably going to get away with it. Maybe they didn't see where the bullet came from. I'll
Right,
just
right.
keep acting like I'm talking.
Yeah, he wrote a fucking book about it. Didn't do no jail time. That's justice, right? So you mean to tell me that these Catholic priests, every time they did it, they managed to pick a set of parents where they knew for sure that the father wouldn't post up somewhere and put a bullet in his head? Were they that, like, meticulous in picking out the children? Or were they just doing what the fuck they want to do because they know that the people are so indoctrinated to think that the priest is the go-between of regular people and God that they don't want to violate? Or they, like, what are they thinking? Do they think, well, we don't allow the priests to have wives, so they got to bang something. It might as well be our kids. Like, I have no idea what level of hypnosis is going on from the Catholic Church. No priests are getting beat to death nowhere.
Well, another thing too, though, it wasn't like we're
And I'm
waiting
not saying
around.
they should. I'm not saying you should do that.
No. Of course not. Of course not.
So what kind of race mix that is that for the Catholic Church? That has to be like
That's
special.
Shit.
that's plus 23 awkward glasses, plus 17 hunchback, like
Damn.
wispy hair that's balding, plus 5. Like, it's
There's something weird.
it's a pedophile.
There's something
safe
weird.
haven.
None of
Because
these children,
they
none of these parents are
moved
doing
these
nothing.
dudes around for decades.
Yep.
Like decades. Like they knew they were doing it, and all they would do is say, well, we need people to pass out these wafers. We'll find a job for you in Toledo. Let's just ship you out and hope this kid's asshole heals and things blow over and the parents forget about it and don't hunt you down.
Because there's some cases where they pay out, isn't there? Like,
Yeah, they have.
I think there was some,
Not many,
but
because they don't
I
give
mean,
a fuck.
relative to listen, if you look at the ratio of how much gold they have adorned on their temples, versus how much money they've paid out to the countless victims of child rape, I don't think we're anywhere square.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been restitution.
And also, it's deeper than just religious indoctrination, because what we know happens between the regular parishioners is the gossip and everything that happens in communities. This person's cheating on their wife. This person is this. This person is that. Like, they will totally disparage you for not holding up. Oh, your son doesn't wear his crucifix anymore. Like, there's all of these arbitrary rules and regulations for the parishioners, but the priest is banging your kid. And they don't go, oh, well, that's definitely not part of the religion. Like, for some reason, it's about the power dynamics. It's some deep shit. So why is it that, you can talk shit about Catherine because, she's cheating on her husband, and that's enough for you to say she's not a good Catholic or whatever. But the priest can.
I used to get it for smoking weed.
Yeah.
And he's up there banging
Yeah, I
Right.
right. left and right.
It don't
Have
make
you
sense.
met a lot of
He's
Catholics
banging them.
though?
I can't say I know a lot of Catholics.
Dude,
I
Catholicism.
gave up since I was a kid. I don't remember how old I was. When I asked
Catholicism
my
is-
mother about it. I was like, I'm good.
It's Jewish. It's Jewish Christianity.
Mm.
It's like,
Yeah. Yeah,
we just are.
with all the
We're-
robes and
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
a culture, we're an identity, but we're not really trying to do this shit. I mean, just to be fair, I mean, no churches are. If there's a dude on TV in a building, he's absolutely not doing it right. Like, and this is why, like, I've been going back and forth with, like, Bryson Gray. I love that dude. He's just trying to tell people about the Bible, like, this is what it is, and we gotta. It's like, dude, you have no idea what you're talking about. And he gets a lot of flack for going hard against LBGT or whatever. But you would think it's like, dude, that's not the bottom line. Like, I don't know what you're reading. Like, you're finding a couple verses about it. Yeah, there's a whole litany of shit that you're not supposed to do. That's the whole point. Everybody's a piece of shit. That's the conclusion you're supposed to come to. We're all pieces of shit.
It's
That's
all
supposed to
bad.
be right. That's
It's
supposed
all
to be your
bad.
takeaway. Like, and you're in the spirit. You have your mind to I want to do right, but my mech stats are like, these kids are sexy, and I don't. So humans suck. Humans want to do fucked up shit, and that's all this is, right? Like, even back to the Adam 22 thing. Like, it's an opportunity for us to be like, hey, I'm not that fucked up. That's all
Right.
we want to do. We want to feel like we're not fucked up, but you are. You're not looking at yourself hard enough, or you'll definitely find that you're pretty fucked up if you examine yourself long enough. But as far as like what the shit actually like, I'm just convinced nobody that tries to like proselytize people with the Bible, nobody's reading the Bible. Like, if you actually read the Bible,
Well, they're definitely not reading it.
absolutely
Definitely
not.
reading
You can't.
Because I'm like, listen,
I used
when-
to read that shit every day, in the morning, at night, and then I'll go. I'm like, are y'all
that's
niggas
what gets you
reading
to
this
stop
shit?
reading it, because you're like,
Are you-
nobody's reading this.
Are you
Nobody knows what it
reading this?
says. Everybody's like, I don't know. Like, it just doesn't want to understand it. But it's like, if you look at what it actually was actually there, well, what happened to sell all you have and give to the poor? Like, what happened to that? When did that stop becoming a requirement? You know, they all, it even says it. Like, yo, Peter, Andrew, what are y'all doing? Yeah, we're fishing. Fuck that. Fuck all them fish. Just abandon your job. Matthew, what are you doing? I'm collecting taxes. I work for the temple. I work for Caesar. You know, we got to tax these bitches. I collect the money. People hate me. Yo, man, fuck that job. Come with me. I got this dude, Judas. He's holding the money. I'm preaching. People are giving us donations. We got this thing going. Just come with me. We're gonna get this message out. Just follow me. And then everywhere he goes, it's like, yo, you have to sell all that you have. We're gonna do no. We're not gonna overthrow Rome. We're just gonna peacefully Amish out. We're gonna leave. And if you study really what the original Christians were called, were Ebionites, which means the poor. So when he says blessed are the poor, he's talking about him. He's talking about them. Like, our sect of Judaism is the poor. We're renouncing worldly power. That's why he has beef with Herod. That's why he has beef with the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees. Every single institutional power, he's like, fuck them. They're vipers. What we need to do is stop collecting their taxes, stop gathering their fish, stop doing all of this shit, and just quietly leave. Just quietly leave. And when he tried to quietly leave, they just fucking murdered him. They killed him. Like, no, we're not doing that. And then you juxtapose that with the Exodus. In Exodus, it's like, yo, we're gonna leave. I know we came here when we ran out of food, and you've given us a place to stay, and basically Egypt let us sleep on their couch for 400 years. We're just gonna stay here, but now all of a sudden you're being an asshole to us, and you won't let us leave. But look, if you won't let us leave, God's gonna kill your babies. He's gonna fucking murder your babies while they sleep. He's gonna murder your babies so we can leave. Also, can I borrow some gold? Can I borrow some gold before I go? Like nobody's reading the Bible.
That is
Like,
a nice. That is a nice story of we rampaged through the town and killed all their babies.
we were starving, living in boats. We ran out of food to Egypt. Egypt was nice enough to be like, hey, sure, crash here. Joseph's been a great kid. He's been helping with the administrative duties. Pharaoh's wife tried to bang him, but he wouldn't bang him. He's
after they destroyed Jericho, right? They moved to Egypt after Jericho destruction, right?
This is later. This is later. This is before all that. This is leading up to Exodus. Listen, Joseph's a mensch, great guy, but listen, stay as long as you need. And they're like, cool, we just need a couple years, to get on our feet. We'll gather some grain. We'll start, raising these goats, and we'll be out of your hair. 400 years later, they're still there. They're still there. I can absolutely guarantee you what they wrote down was that Pharaoh wouldn't let them leave. I absolutely promise you, I'm giving away Jewish secrets today. The way that shit went down is Pharaoh was like, y'all got to get the fuck out of here. And they wrote down the story as they wouldn't let us leave. So what happened when they didn't let you leave? Well, God killed their babies to prove a point so that we could leave. And then we borrowed gold from them and never gave it back. Wait a minute, what do you mean borrowed? Who borrows gold? Like, hey, Egyptian neighbor, can I borrow some gold? Well, why? We're just going down the street. We're going to worship our God over there.
Has there been a civilization that's borrowed gold as the Greeks borrowed gold?
Sugar? Sugar, what the fuck do you need the gold for? And this is too, like, because we touched on this with the Abraham shit. You got to ask yourself, okay, and I'm not saying there's not a God. Personally, I do believe there's a supreme being. Absolutely do.
There is, but you can't disagree that the story's been remixed.
Humans brushed up against it and did the best they could to try to stay true to their experience. But I'm sorry, God is not whispering in your ear, tell them the part where you borrow the gold. Make sure that shit is as the guru laid out for us. That shit is somebody is in a boardroom saying, look, we got to get out ahead of this. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Listen, you guys are going to hear stories. Listen, you probably heard some things. You heard the Jebusites and the Amalekites talking that we pillaged the Egyptians before we left. I just want to tell you that's absolutely not how it happened. We were simply borrowing gold, and we never happened to made it back because we just left. So you just compare, right? So it's all the same God, right? So God in the Old Testament is like, yo, my people need to leave, and I'm willing to kill fucking babies to get them out of here, even though they've been here mooching for 400 years. But I will drown an ocean full of adults who just had their babies murdered so that you can run off with their gold. That's the moral tale. You juxtapose that with Jesus, who was like, Peter, don't cut the soldier's ear off. No, just, listen, respect them. They sit in Moses' seat. I know this is all bullshit. Trust me, I've been listening to this bullshit for a long time. But just respect them, follow your rules. Just listen, we're just gonna head out. We're gonna take our fishermen's and our tax collectors, and we're just gonna go out and live in a rural life and existence and be separated and teach people the rules for this new kingdom. No, we'll murder you, right? And Christians believe that Jesus dying on the cross gets us out of earth. It saves us from earth. It saves us from earth. That's the Exodus. The human condition, we're all going to die. What are we going to do? Don't worry about it. You're all filthy pieces of shit. I've been trying to get you information for fucking centuries, and you keep just using it to aggrandize yourself and exploit people. So you're all thieves and robbers. I'm going to come down to earth and do it myself and show you that you've completely missed the point. Religion has made you completely miss the point of what Christ consciousness or a godly character is. So I'll just go ahead and show you. But everywhere, just like with the shit with the in Exodus, like, hey, we borrowed some gold, the Bible always tells on itself. It tells on itself if you just read it. It tells on itself. When you get into Acts, right? Everybody that followed Jesus up until that point, what did they do? He even said it. Look, if you're not willing to lose your life, abandon your family, lose all your money, you can't be my disciple. It's right there in black and white. I don't know how many different interpretations of that is, But if you're not willing to lose all of your Babylonian connections, if you're not willing to not be able to Rumpspringer, whatever the fuck the German word is, if you're not willing to completely detach and leave Babylon, you can't leave my disciple. If you still want a picture of a worldly ruler on a little trinket that gets you access to things, if you're still that caught up in materialism, if you're still willing to be its bakers and its soldiers and cogs in its machines so it can continue to murder everybody, if that's what you're going to do, you can't be my disciple. You got to be willing to abandon this all behind. That's what all the disciples did. And then as soon as you start seeing, well, what about the people after them? They did the exact same shit. They're like, yo, I'm going to sell all I have and just give it to the church. That's what it says. When you read Acts, they were fucking communists. They were absolute communists. They said, I don't want to own anything for myself. This life doesn't matter. I don't want any of Babylon's trinkets. I simply want to serve my fellow man and live in community. Like the Amish do.
Right.
That's exactly what it was. There's no place in the biblical narrative, because the four Gospels and Acts, that's the New Testament's Pentateuch. That's the New Testament's Torah. That's the 5 books of the history. That's what happened. Every Christian recorded sold all of their worldly possessions to live in community with their fellow man. Who the fuck calls themselves a Christian in America that's doing that shit besides the Amish? They all got excuses why Joel Osteen needs a huge building, why fucking Kevin Copeland needs a jet, why T.D. Jakes need fancy suits. They all got their explanations. Like, well, wait a minute. I thought we were all supposed to be selling everything that we had to serve each other and live in community. Like, I thought that was what it was to follow Christ. And then
Dollar needs that private jet, son.
Exactly.
All that.
Like, I thought we were supposed to be defunding the Babylonian system. That's this beast going out and making. I thought the whole point was so that we could just reveal who the murderers are. Like, Cain murdered and he built cities, and people have been getting murdered in cities ever since. And we were supposed to be people like, we're gonna politely just leave. No, thank you. We'll let all the murderers kind of just hang out here. We're gonna go somewhere else. We've seen how you get down. Your police murder, your soldiers murder. If we don't pay taxes, you'll murder us. We get how you get down. Thanks, but no thanks. We're gonna take our things and leave. But no Christians live like that.
Listen, this is how you know they don't believe what they're reading. This is not even like some random thing. This is Jesus, right? Saying,
that's quoted.
Luke 18:25. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. They just be like, you know what? We're going to put a pin in that. We'll circle back around to that. But for now, pass that collection plate because daddy needs some new shoes. They don't believe what they're reading. They know it's a grift, just like the guy in what's the Denzel movie, post-apocalyptic Denzel movie, Book of Eli.
Yeah.
That guy wanted a Bible because he knew the Bible had the game. It was like a pimp looking for Iceberg Slim's manual. He's like, I need to control these hoes, and I don't necessarily have the words and the stature to do it. But if I get my hands on that book, I'll have shit under control. They know it's a grifting manual. They don't believe this shit. Do you know how if it was true? I've often used this thing like with police. Like if a police is following you, you just don't speed, right? You don't speed anyway because it's like, oh, no, I think I'll be all right. When a cop's behind you, you don't speed because you know you're going to get a ticket. But they tell you God is watching you, so don't do this. You do it anyway. That means you don't think God is watching you. You haven't convinced yourself. If you were 100% sure that being rich would keep you out of heaven, you know how fast people would give their money away? But they don't. They hoard it, and they step over people. What they would do is they would try to make their enemies rich so they don't get to heaven. But that's not how people carry themselves. They try to hoard all the money for themselves, especially in that community with the preachers and all of the prosperity pimping preachers. They don't believe this shit.
They're the worst, dude.
They don't believe this shit.
But even Bible-thumping Christians that want to break down for you why we need to hate the gays.
Right.
Like, listen, it says here, we need the gays are bad, okay? It also says to sell everything you have and give to the poor. And again, what were the original Christians called? The poor. Sell all you have, relinquish your stake in Babylon to serve one another. Who will be greatest among you will be the one in your service. You see how the nations, right? And what is all the Old Testament? Nation building. What does nation building consist of? We're going to need a tenth of your fields. We're going to need a tenth of your women. Some of you are going to have to put on some suits of armor and get chopped up. You know, we need to fill the trenches with bodies so we can cross the river. We're going to take the land.
Blood.
Listen, God gave us the land, but listen, he bought us a house without evicting the current tenants. We're going to have to get in there and get busy and get them the fuck out of here. So listen, here's your sword. Here's your helmet. This is what God wants. I promise you, he's behind us. You saw the fire. It ate the goat. Let's chop up these babies. Let's not let the women, the children, and the cattle live. Let's get in there and take their shit. And that's the game. That's the nations. And who gets the land?
Kill those people because he slept with his 2 daughters.
Right,
No,
but who gets?
Yeah, you got to kill them. The only ones you can keep is the young women who've never known a man, because everybody else is useless. But I'm sure we'll find a use for these virgins.
We'll find a job for them.
We'll find
work for them. Absolutely, they'll
you can
have
keep
a place
them in my tent until we figure it out.
Listen, we're gonna keep the temples. We're gonna reappropriate it, but so like that's the game of human history. Everybody had, you know, whether it's Zeus or the Sumerian fish god, some dude shows up out of the sky. He's magical. This is how you plant crops. This is how you make swords. This is how you write down language. You can keep track of commerce. Like, I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom, and look how much better you're going to be than everybody else. Yeah, but somebody's teaching them how to do it too. No problem, but I'm with you. Build a statue of me. Go over there. Kill those guys. Take their statue, because their God isn't shit, but your God is awesome. So, like, that's the way the world works.
When you hear
That's
stories,
it. But
when you hear stories like that in the Bible, this is why, like, I'm not comfortable with aliens.
Yeah, you don't need
no,
no
but
aliens.
the Bible supports the notion. They may not be like aliens and spaceships, but as far as like some interdimensional beings or something that's otherly, like I don't know of a civilization that doesn't have that story in their mythology. Nobody said like, look, we just kept heating up bricks till we learned how to make concrete. We just kept heating up bricks till we found some metal leaking out of it, and then we cut a tree and we just figured out how to shape it into a sword to kill each other. Like, nobody says we just kept trial and error and figured it out. All of them said, look, some dude showed up, I killed some animals, he ate the animals, and he said, look, boy, I'm gonna teach you how to make swords. I'm going to teach your bitches to be sexy. I'm going to teach you how to run an OnlyFans. I'm going to give you the keys to survival in the world. And listen, and you're going to rule. And this is how you know you're going to rule. Look, I'm going to teach you how the stars move so you can start cataloging days and times. You're going to be the astrological, priestly class, the empirical. You're going to rule over other human beings. That's how everybody was. So again, Jesus shows up and says, nah, we're not doing that. Your kingdom isn't a kingdom here. Especially like Christians who are like on this pro-America shit. America is just another kingdom of the world. It's not Jesus's idea. It's not the New Jerusalem. Even if people here subscribe to some of those values, it tells you in your own book in Hebrews, you're just a sojourner here. You're looking for a continuing kingdom. This is not your home. But how many Christians want to tell you about the Bible? Dude, you got both feet in Babylon.
Right.
You like, I'll let an Amish person tell me about the Bible. You actually seem to be committed to actually doing what it tells you. Everybody else is just like, listen, we got a lot of church history that's told us how to like get around. Like, we left some books out. We definitely edited it. And we've made some conclusions that we've been arguing. But listen, the same institution that told you Jesus, who let himself be killed by the authorities, the same institution that killed him told you, hey, listen, I promise you, no matter what you did, even if you ate a baby, if you go die killing Muslims, you totally get into heaven, no matter what you did, no matter what you. So yeah, you're just using it as the same fucking political tool. That like, if you know all of these decisions have been made in history and is like kind of guided what you're supposed to conclude from it, then either you're comfortable with it and you know it's bullshit, or you're really just not reading it. You're really just not reading it. You don't get into, like, and just think about it. It's the same thing, right? The more time goes on, like, the further you get from the event, the more that the truth just kind of becomes an echo or a resonance of what it was. It's telephone, right? When you were there right at the moment. So, like, right at the time of Jesus, it's like, yeah, yeah, this shit, we got to get out of Babylon. Fuck Rome. We're out of here. Yeah. Yeah, we're not with this. And then all of them, yeah, I'm not with none of this shit. I just sold my house. I pooled all my money with the believers of faith. We're all living in community and we're taking care of each other. We don't want nothing to do with this. And then a couple of decades go by, and Paul's like, look, I heard your slave ran away. I'm super sorry about that. Don't be mad at him. All of a sudden, it goes back to people in cities and like, hey, this is how you kind of survive in the city. And here's some new rules. I know we had a whole council about what should we make these goyim do. And we were like, don't eat blood. Make sure, you don't need to cut your dick skin off, but you can't eat food sacrificed to idols. And then decades later, Paul is like, who gives a fuck? We know the idol's not real. Just eat the meat. You're getting a deal. Clearly, he was a Jew. Save the money, eat the food, sacrifice to the idol, no problem. But no Christian reads that and is like, wait a minute. If this is from God and it's all about laws and rules, and you guys specifically got a rule, don't eat meat sacrificed to idols, how do you start getting some letters a couple decades later that totally throw out that window without concluding, oh, it's probably the same reason why the Jews were like, we're din-dus. We didn't steal the gold, we borrowed it. I promise that's how it happened. The
original din-do from antiquity.
The Jews are the original din-dos. We borrowed some gold. And that's why I don't mind. The Hebrew Israelites want to lay claim to it. No problem. You can be the original din-do if you want to. But the story is Egypt helped us out. We overstayed our welcome. We robbed them blind and just left. We just left and we lived in tents. We didn't get a temple till what? Hundreds of years later. And then but really what we were just people that wandered around in tents. And then, right, after the Egyptians allowing us to live there, we find these people called Romanis, right? And they live in tents, and we're like, yo, those are gypsies. You're from Egypt.
Get rid of them.
The Egyptians are the ones that really live in tents, see? Look at the gypsies. That's not us. We built a temple.
It's horrible. The whole thing is a grift. Like I said before, the only two concepts of a creator that I accept at this point in my life is all-knowing universal being that abandoned his ant farm and has no clue what's going on down here, or Willy Wonka, who wants you to give back the gobstopper. Those are the only two things I accept. I don't accept that there's somebody sitting on a cloud watching people like, nope, not in the butt. Don't do that. Like I don't accept that. It's ridiculous.
It's
It's
don't
ridiculous.
do that.
The guy who says, I don't trust the guy who says, I don't want you eating pig or wearing mixed linens, but you can definitely own people as property and pass them down to your children. I don't trust that guy. I don't trust your judgment. Like there's no nuance in whether or not I can eat pork, but you can definitely enslave certain people, but not these over here. These are your brothers. You can only keep them in debt bondage for 7 years. Then you got to let them go. But if you give him a wife and pierce his ear, then you can keep him forever. Like there's too much nuance in slavery. What about shrimp, God? No, never. Well, what about on can we eat it on holidays? No shrimp ever. But slavery is like, all right, let's talk. Let's figure this thing out. We got to figure this out.
Because he knows that we're gonna do this anyways.
Doesn't he know we're gonna eat shrimp anyway?
Hey, I don't. He's like,
see,
don't
that's
do
the
it.
point.
He's like,
and I
don't do
love
it.
that argument because people say, well,
Don't
God
do it.
knew that people were definitely going to eat shrimp. You also knew that people were going to definitely, I mean, he knew that people were going to enslave each other, so he had to create rules for it instead of just outright banning
Maybe
it.
the shrimp wasn't as important. He's like, look, just don't eat it. Y'all
Just
eat that
don't eat
shit.
it.
It's
Nah,
up
but it's
to
good,
you.
bro.
Dude,
But
It's
listen,
so good.
the slavery shit.
No,
this
we got to
sounds
talk
gonna
about
go
this.
down.
I'm going to have to get my notepad out, and I'm going to have to draw some lines,
Don't
strike
break
some other.
the
He gave
tablets
you-
this time, please.
Bro, he gave you a slavery loophole. First he said, don't enslave your brothers from the same bloodline as you indefinitely. You can't do that. You got to let them go after a few years. But if you give him a wife and his wife and they have a kid while in slavery, you can keep the wife and kid.
those
But you gotta let him
fantastic
go.
poetic words brought down by God built America.
That shit is amazing.
That built America.
That was just written by a dude, I'm pretty sure. So I don't, and pay your taxes. Make sure you pay your taxes too. Like shit like that. It's just like, bro, is this a cosmic entity or is this just Ralph writing this shit? 'Cause I don't. Ralph would definitely remember to tell you to pay your taxes and how some loopholes for slavery. The whole thing is a loophole, right? So you got somebody who demands blood sacrifice. Like you didn't know that wasn't gonna go right. I want you to feel so bad about your sin. I want you to kill an animal and sacrifice the animal to me because I love the smell of barbecue. So I want you to sacrifice the animal to me.
That shit smell good.
Smells so good, and you're gonna feel so bad about killing this animal that you're never gonna sin again. You know how easy it is to kill an animal in barbecue.
He comes to the barbecue like, nigga, that smells good.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. That shit
You can have this. You can have the land out over
Temples are barbecue pits.
Yeah, temples are just barbecue pits.
Welcome to Dolomite's Cosmic Barbecue Temple.
And they just don't want nobody to know they cooking. They're like, nah, back up. We sacrificing meat to God. To the sinners. Like, what's that aromatic smell though? It's weed bush, but don't come over here.
It's time, nigga.
Yes, you don't know
Yes,
nothing
the
about
sacred incense. No, but there's herbs listed. If you go back and read it, like you got to burn a certain
it was a
incense, you got to
barbecue.
cook it with a certain fiber. Holy shit, Leviticus is a barbecue recipe. We figured it out.
They was just trying to keep
Leviticus is a
people.
barbecue recipe.
They was just trying to keep people away from the cookout. That's all that was. They didn't want you to know they was up there eating good. So it was like, you know what? You did a sin. Okay, bring me a dead animal. I'm a
But no
barbecue.
shrimp.
That's the thing,
But
too,
no
like-
shrimp.
But no shrimp. But then when we try to explain it, it's like, yeah, but God already knew that he was going to send Jesus to die for everybody. Then why all the dead goats? If you knew it didn't make a difference, right? They're not just burning goats. The priest is eating the goat.
Of course.
It's not just like, hey, God needs this.
You can't
Okay,
just
if God
throw it
needs
away.
it,
It's
why
already
are
cooked.
you eating? No, God likes the
Been there
parts
for a
that
couple hours.
God likes the parts that we don't happen to eat.
Throw that in the charcoal.
Dude, I had a conversation with a Jehovah's Witness once, and I was telling him about the guy who started this whole thing. His name was George Taze Russell. And there was a time when they believed that some people from the Bible was going to come back sometime in the 60s or 70s, something like early 60s, that some people from the Bible, the forefathers from the Bible, were going to come back. And he said, well,
Elijah and Moses.
when they come back, we're going to need a place to stay. They're going to need a place to live. So we got to collect money to build a mansion in California. It's like, okay, well, these guys came from huts and shit like that. Do we got to build a mansion? Yeah, give us all your money. We're going to build a mansion. So they built this mansion, and the time came and went. And guess what? To everyone's surprise,
Elijah and Moses didn't
show up. It's crazy, right? They didn't come back. So there was a dude.
Even after they raised all the funds, knocking
Right.
on all those doors and collecting all the money
Yep.
from those
Having
sincere
intense debates.
people.
And there was a guy who was running the whole thing named Judge Rutherford. They called him Judge. His name was Joseph Rutherford, but they called him Judge. Judge Rutherford was like, you know what? Fuck it. Since they already built, I'll just live there. Okay, all right, well, and I asked the
Shamelessly.
Jehovah's Witness about it. I was like, well, after the people didn't show up, Judge Rutherford moved in, and the guy looked me square in my eye with a grin on his face. He said, well, somebody had to live there. I was like, you
Dude,
scumbag, bro.
Dude, and that's why I'll never throw out the Bible, because the Bible, it doesn't just tell on itself. And the fact that we know for at least like 1,000 or 2,000 year stretch, there hasn't been much that's been changed. Essentially, it's the same thing. Like before that, who knows what happened? But at the very least, you have enough information there to show like, oh yeah, you're completely full of shit. You're not selling all you have and give to the poor. You're there to enrich yourself. You're literally the antithesis of how it's supposed to operate. But even though it's right there in the book that they basically worship, you think it's canon, you think it's the literal, not just the inspired word of God, like is God wrote it down himself. You know what I mean? Like you believe it to that degree, but then it's right then and there. Like that's not how this shit is supposed to operate. Like anybody that's living better than you in any Christian context has already ruined the paradigm. any congregation that's following Jesus is supposed to have all things in common. That was the blueprint when Jesus walked the earth, if you believe that. That's also the blueprint in Acts, which is basically the Christian history. How were people behaving after they had this experience? So again, humans, they rub up against God, they get a little God experience, they start writing some shit down, time goes by, and just like Judaism got so corrupt that, again, if you believe what Christians believe, God himself has to show up to be like, you motherfuckers missed the point. Like, you think that the rules are more important than the ethics? You think your identity, your racial identity, and your culture is what makes you good because you wash your hands, because you cut your dick skin off? That you think that makes you a decent person? Like, you're an entitled fuck. You're all pieces of shit. Like, no. Your mother and father, they're destitute. They need help. And you're like, look, sorry, mom, I got to give this money to the temple. You think I want the fucking money? You think I need it? And even in some of the ecstasy shit, the channeled shit, right? Psalms are supposed to be the songs, people chanting, and they're moved by the Spirit. And they say, look, God just told me, it's like, bitch, if I was hungry, I wouldn't ask you. I own cattle on 1,000 hills. I don't need your fucking goats. And 1,000, a day to God is 1,000 years. 1,000 is like the old school million. You know what I'm saying? Solomon had 1,000 women. Is just a way of saying he just basically, once you get to 1,000, it's like infinity. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, I got all the cows. I don't need shit from you. And yet you keep showing, like, the whole time he's telling you in the Old Testament, like, these dudes were pimping you. They were liars and thieves. Every shepherd that came before me was just trying to pimp you. They were enriching themselves. That, like, Herod lives in a big palace. The Pharisees have really nice garments. You don't see that the people in charge of you are living way better than you, and they're just cozied up to the power structure that oppresses you. And what do you want to be free to do? Right? Well, we want to be free to do the same shit everybody else is doing. And that's what the Jewish history wrote down. Like, yeah, we're going to go ahead. Oh, no, we were oppressed under Egypt. We didn't like being slaves under Egypt. All right, so we're free from Egypt. What are we going to do? Let's go do some oppressing. Like, it's our turn to oppress now. Like, God wants us to be the oppressor. God wants us to do the enslaving. Why? Because we're God's chosen people. Never a moral, enlightened thought to say, maybe this conquering, enslaving shit is no good. That doesn't happen until Jesus. Jesus shows up and it's like, nah, that's the way the nations exert authority over each other. We're not supposed to be doing that. But Christians never question their church. Like, I would love for Christians, when you go, next time you go to church, just ask your pastor. Like, look, Jesus said to sell all you have and give to the poor. It would appear that all of his followers did that. And then in Acts, it looks like the people that originally believed this thing that we say we're the heirs to, it looks like they were doing that as well. Why do you live in a bigger house than us, Pastor? Like, why is that money used to make you powerful and distinct from us when this is supposed to be a universal brotherhood? Just watch the tap dancing and the mental gymnastics to get, well, you know, that was a different time and they actually believed that shit. You know, we've kind of grown out of that and we just don't do that anymore. And let's just change the subject. But, like, it's right there in the book. Like, that's how you're supposed to be living. That's authentic Christianity. And aside from the Amish, there are no Christians doing the same. There's not. You could turn on the TV, you could go on Twitter, you could hear everybody telling you why you need to not eat pork or celebrate the Sabbath, and again, exalting Jewish tribalism. Like, that was the whole thing that Jesus corrected. Like, dude, don't call anything I created unclean. Like, I made all humans, even the ones with the extra dick skin. They're also humans. I love them too. I don't just love you. That's fucking insulting. The Jews were so insulted by that. Wait a minute. You love other humans? Bullshit. Yeah. You love other humans and we're bad because we think we're special just by virtue of our genetic identity? We're special and magical? Like, nah, you guys missed the point. You just became religious and you used your religion to be unethical. Like, that's
That's
it.
a fact. That's a fact.
That's it. And even with Jesus, right? They bring him, like, if you think that God just hates gay people, right? We don't have to speculate on what Jesus thinks about butt fucking. He caught a woman who was taking the dick. She was caught in the act. They brought, like, look, she was taking pipe that was not her husband's pipe. It's written in the law, we have to kill this bitch. And again, this is God that wrote the law. Because you believe that Jesus never broke the law. You believe Jesus fulfilled everything of the Old Testament. He wasn't perfect if he broke the law. The law says if you take pipes that's not your husband's pipe, the congregation must kill you. This is the same God who said, hey, Terrence was picking up sticks on Saturday. We got to take him off of here.
Get him out of here immediately.
There was no, but wait a minute. He slept through Friday. He thought it was really Sunday. There's nothing to be like, wait a minute. No, we have to murder him. We have to purge the evil out from among us. So he shows up and it's like, this person is doing sexual deviant shit. And Jesus is like, you're all looking at porn. The fuck you want from me? Get the fuck out of here. You're not going to kill this woman just because your mech stats want you to do other evil shit. Like, it's so easy for Christians to hate gay people when you have no affinity for cock. What if God was gay? What if the Bible said you cannot be with the opposite sex? You gotta eat box, you gotta gobble dick. And every fiber of your body is like, oh my God, I love pussy. I love the smell of pussy. I love the way pussy looks. How challenging would it be for you to be like, look, God wants me to suck dick. There's just no way around it. But it's so convenient that your mech stats give you a different set of proclivities of shit that you may go after. So it's so easy to be like, yeah, but y'all are gay. Y'all are gay. Y'all like to do butt stuff. So you're the supreme evil. Not the pastor not living the Bible, not actually following it, making himself rich, selling people dreams, and not actually giving them the truth of what it says, not actually improving the...
I can deal with all of that.
Right. That guy knowingly is fucking manipulating shit and exploiting people and making merchandise out of people, which your book says is wrong. And that takes some calculation. Right. Now, another person who's just like, look, I love God. God made me. I know it says I'm not supposed to want dudes, but fuck, I want dudes. I can't get dudes out of my head. I love cock. Like, they're wired for that. Like, you're wired for pussy. You know what I mean? It's so it's way too.
What are those people doing over there in Sodom and Gomorrah? What are they up to? Are they just hanging out, or what are they doing over there? Are they banging? Are the dudes banging each other?
I think they're doing butt stuff. I think they want to rape angels. I think they're into angel banging, angel vineyarding.
That's the true goal for gay people. That you want to bang.
We got to take them off. No, it's a fact. Everything
said, man.
The people just don't. We know people's proclivity to their blind spots. They don't want to follow this shit. So any way they see that they can squirm out of it, they're gonna take those opportunities to squirm out of it. We're already getting requests. It says, "What about the story of Job?" You know, talking about the 144,000 that go to heaven. Yeah, the story of Job is one of the great ones. The God betting the devil to fuck somebody up for fun.
That was a close one too.
That's a good one.
We already lost with the apple.
But this is just the beginning of our deep dive on the Bible. So we got some theories, we got some ideas, and maybe, I don't know if we noticed something that nobody else have ever noticed. I haven't done the history on this, but I think just the premise that we have about it is something that you don't hear a lot of people talking about these days from that perspective. And it's probably because it's still seen as such a sacred manual, and even though people don't follow it, they pretend they do. Most of the people who call themselves Christians don't read it.
90% of people don't read it.
You know, as long as you cry when you watch Passion of the Christ, you're pretty much a Christian. You don't have to follow any rules. You don't have to give your money away. You don't got to do nothing. You just say you are. You know, every now and then you wear a T-shirt that says Jesus is real. Well, we went out to a football meet with the boys the other day, and there was some NFL football player there, and he was like trying to minister to the kids, and it was like, yo, my dad's over there, you can talk to him. He was like, no, I'll talk to you first. And I'm like, this is weirdo shit. These
Race
are,
mech stats. Get to bang the kids.
this is weirdo shit. Then they said they were healing somebody who had a knee brace on, and I think that's mostly what it's about for a lot of people. Is you get to place yourself on a pedestal over others because they're not Christians, so fuck them. We can do whatever we want. You know, who nobody else can heal you like I can. Like it's all this
Bro, I knew
personal
a guy that would walk around saying
self-aggrandization.
his daughter could see angels. I'm like, this is your peak Christianism.
Yeah, exactly.
My daughter sees angels.
Yeah, it's a huge grift, and I don't know if that's necessarily what it was meant to be from the beginning. This doesn't say that there is no creator, there's no God. It doesn't say that Jesus never existed. Like that's not even the conversation we're having. I think most of what we're talking about is this book an accurate account of something that humans could use to live their lives in a way to get better results than they're getting right now. Where it came from, we probably will never really know. Is it of divine origin? Not very. It's not likely. Like if it was, we don't have anything supernatural.
It's definitely pimping 101.
100%. We don't have anything supernatural in our grasp right now. There's no book that we could say, like people used to say about the Emerald Tablets, like they were, locked on a cellular level, like they could never be changed. But you can't. If you throw it in the fire, it won't burn. If you hit it with a hammer, it won't break. Like all that kind of shit. I think that's a cool concept. If you could show me a Bible that doesn't burn, or if you rip a page out, it just reappears or something like that. If we had something, that'd be different. But for now, we're just talking about a book that may have had some. We don't know. What we do know is most of the people who claim that it's their manuscript for how to live life and it came from their God, most of those people don't read it and don't follow it accurately.
Don't understand that, like, all, because listen, I see all this like Jewish worship, and it's not that you should hate Jewish people. No, the whole thing with Jesus is ending tribalism. There was Jewish tribalism, and he gave. If you actually read his message and understand the context of it, you understand why it's so offensive. Like he starts with, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are the pure in heart, they'll see God. You're talking to Jewish people who think, what is the old covenant, right? I will bless those that bless you and curse those that curse you. Why? Because you came out of Abraham's nuts, because of your ethnic genetic reality. Just by virtue of your race, you are blessed. That was their understanding. God has blessed us. Why? Because we're descendants of Abraham. So when Jesus says, I could raise up fucking sons of Abraham from these stones, like that's not a special thing. Like you think your genetic shit. He repurposes and has said, no. I know you think you're blessed if you're the descendant of Abraham. That's not God's people. You think you're God's people because you descend from Abraham. You're the blessed people. No. Let me tell you who God's people are. They're the peacemakers. They're the meek. They will inherit the earth. Because that was the promise, right? If you believe the Old Testament, listen, I know we're in some slave shit right now, but let me tell you, after I get done murdering all their firstborn, I got to kill their babies. I mean, how would I be God if I wasn't willing to kill babies, right? So after we kill their babies and we conquer them, look, they're gonna work your vineyards. They're going to tend to your herds. You're going to sit back and collect their wealth. They're all going to work for you. They're going to be your slaves. Like, does that sound like a just God? Or does that sound like a tribal people who are aspiring to the tribal goals of everybody else around them? So I'm not saying it's not from God. But I think it's it's humans experiencing God, having their own shit mixed in with it, right? And purposing it for the things that they need it for at that time. And again, if you look at it and study it that way, it does tell on itself. And then, of course, needing a recalibration where Jesus comes in and says, look, your religion is pointless. Like, your religion is tribalist, it's racist, it misses the point, and you're just using these laws as an excuse for you to enrich yourself and to oppress people. That's what you're using it for. You're all hypocrites. You're all full of shit. So I think, I do personally, I do think it catalogs a human experience brushing up with the divine, but if you know what you're reading, it just makes a whole bunch more sense. So when you see Jesus starting out, like this is the first time he's ever spoken to the masses that's recorded in the Gospels, the first thing he says is like, I don't think people understand why Jewish people hate Jesus. Like, he's basically saying you're not special like you think you are. Like,
yeah, you fucking
God,
up the game,
which
bro.
was game
God
changing.
belongs to everybody.
It was
Yeah,
game
you fucking
changing.
up. You fucking up big time.
God doesn't really like y'all niggas.
I just think that my somebody
Well, not
asked,
on your race. It's on your character.
yeah. Dan Houston asks, "Are y'all atheists?" I tell people I am sometimes because I think it's a fun ender to the conversation. Like, I'll just be like, "Yeah, son," like, and then they don't have a lot to say afterwards. They look at you weird. But my real thing is, I just don't accept that we as humans have any real evidence or connection to anything solid. So I think people come to their own conclusions about a lot of shit, but I don't think we have anything good enough to make a solid decision with. I think if a creator was going to take the time and the energy to give us a book, a set of instructions, the least you could do is preserve it. Like, if I make a PDF right now, I can make the PDF uneditable to the people I send it to. So that PDF will remain the same forever. As long as there's the internet and as long as you can download it, it can't be edited. You either make a new PDF, but this one is always going to be the way. If God didn't even think to make the Bible uneditable or uncorruptible, why even make a book if you knew they was just going to put their own shit in it? You know, it's just a lot of it unravels for me if you put it under real scrutiny. I just don't. I think there's a better way than books. As a matter of fact, it says in the book that the truth about all of this is written on your heart. That's not true. That's not true. You're not born knowing this stuff. It's not some knowledge that we all innately have. Everybody in different parts of the world have different ideas. Some people worship all different types of God. There's no human consensus about this. What's the only things written in our DNA is you need oxygen and water and food, and like those things are guaranteed. No matter what continent you're from, you need food and water. If you don't get them, you're gonna die. If you hold your breath long enough, you're gonna die. Those are absolute facts about humanity. As far as religions and books and who wrote what and who said who did he die on the cross or did he go to India and create who the fuck knows? Nobody knows.
That's a great side story about Jesus, though.
Yeah, well, it's an awesome side story, but nobody knows. So I think there's remnants of it everywhere, and that makes more sense to me. I think there's a little bit over here you can probably get from Buddhism. There's some you can get over there from Christianity. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can get, and it might give you a great idea. But for people who just say, all right, the Bible is the word of God, like that's not a conversation I can usually have. And one, because I don't accept that for a lot of reasons. And two, because I'm not here to burst anybody's bubble. I don't care about it enough to try to convince you that it's not the word of God or try to tell you that. Just have it, bro. If it makes you have a better life, if it makes you treat your family and your wife and your children better, if it drives you to give to the poor and help people, like do it. Do it. If it drives you to try to make the world a better place, I don't care what it is. But if it tells you to kill homosexuals and people that don't believe in your religion, I might have a little issue with it. Maybe.
You're making us hear the screams.
You're making us hear the screams from outside your compound. You know what I'm saying?
Now it's my problem.
Now it's my problem. You know what I'm saying? And I don't dig that. So, but I would never debate with anybody about the validity of it. I think anything that helps you get a better experience out of this crazy simulation that we live in is worth it. It's worth it. So I do tell people that I'm an atheist, but I think I'm the only person on this show who would openly say that I'm an atheist. But like I said, it's usually just so I don't have to talk to you. Because a person who would inquire, like, I just don't want to get into it, so I'll be like, yeah, I'm an atheist. That's a really quick close to the conversation.
An atheist either per se. I do believe in a God, but you know, I'm not into, like, I'm not gonna circle jerk the Bible like this is the all-knowing book, and like I see it for what it is. I do use it for the good out of it, but
yeah,
I
don't hold any theism. It's
I
accurate.
won't know the truth till I'm dead.
Atheism is accurate because all it means is without theism. It doesn't mean that you are asserting that there is no God. It's just saying you don't fully accept the information that's available. And I don't have a theism. I don't have any religion or system that I follow wholly to the letter and excluding everything else. So technically that is atheist. Technically,
I
I
don't want
mean,
to fuck your wife.
it's
I
close
don't want
enough.
to eat your babies.
Look, I could say that, like, even I think it's in our consciousness. I think it's in our ability. Like, if you're talking about God, like so that story in Genesis, where now if you ask a rabbi, he'll tell you that we fuck the animals, like, because they interpret it literally. So to know is to fuck. So when it said, like, hey, and Adam went and he knew, like, I promise you, you can look it up. Rabbis teach that Adam fucked each and every animal before finally God made him a wife, right? And so you'll hear,
Makes
like,
sense.
I
It
heard
makes sense for the rule. It
I
makes
heard
sense for the rule.
That's the
I
only
heard
way you
sense.
can name an animal.
I
That's
see.
just
I've
that's just
seen Adam
science.
do this for
Okay.
years.
But what I'm saying is, I think there's another interpretation. But, like, for instance, like, I heard this prosperity preacher one time. I think it was like Jesse Duplantis. He was talking about, and he was teaching people that verse. So he's going in, right? He's going off this ancient Hebrew document that's influenced by Samaria, right? There's other narratives and books, right? It's a hodgepodge, but it's a catalog of human consciousness and ideas, right? So he says, well, look, God brought him up. So here's the thing. He was breathing life into it. Just like God breathed life into Adam, Adam breathed life into every single one of those animals. So when he brought the animal to Adam, it said, what will you call it? Adam named it, and it became alive. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to name your price. You're going to name the promotion that's coming. You're going to call it like it. So he just turns it into, like, hey, all of this shit you're trying to get from Babylon, the shit that's going to prevent you from going through the eye of a needle, that's going to make it easier for a camel, God wants you to have it. So this ancient wisdom, that's what it means. How you get more stuff. It's materialism. But I think the wiser interpretation of it is, there's other books that go along with Genesis that arguably either explains Genesis that maybe came after, or was the basis of Genesis, like the 7 creation tablets of Samaria or whatever. But it says when he breathed into Adam, he became a living soul having the power of language. It says in the book of Jasher. And it kind of says the same thing in Genesis. It's like, if God breathed into humans, what makes a human different than the rest of the animals? That there's any distinction that the spirit of God is in human beings? Because you have a consciousness. And I know dogs could learn like 200 words. We got a gorilla that can do fucking sign language.
Yeah,
but
can a
you
dog take people to the vineyard.
Right, but you can't talk to a dolphin and get a clear understanding about eternity. Like, you can't tell a dolphin in the beginning. Well, what's the beginning? Before your consciousness even existed, there was a time before you. There's no way to get clear understanding of that level of abstraction and like, orcas can teach each other how to fucking capsize boats and eat people in there. They can hook them like, brr, brr, and they hear each other, and they can communicate to that degree. But you're not talking about abstractions when you start dealing with philosophy and eternity and justice.
The difference is, it's like if I make a copy of an album to a tape, that tape is going to sound better than if you copy my tape to your tape. So God breathed life into Adam. Adam breathed life. There's another step down, another separation from source. That's the difference. If I make a robot, that robot is special. If the robot starts making other robots, they're just a little less special than the original robot that I made. That's how that works. If God breathed life into all the animals, then maybe we could talk to them and they'd be like, yo, don't barbecue me, son. And that would make life really difficult. If chickens could be like, I don't want to be your dinner. So that might fuck up the whole game. So you gotta
here's why it's different. It's different because nature. So what is the knowledge of good and evil? Like, it's not this thing is good and this thing is evil. It's the ability to make judgment. That's the origin of ethical consciousness. So never in the history that, like, I don't know a lot of depressed lions, you know what I mean, who have moral conundrums about how they get their food. Like, I ran down the gazelle, I sunk my teeth into its throat, and I don't feel anything about it. We're operating on that frequency. You know what I mean? Because again, when animals take other animals to the vineyard, they don't catch charges. Right? When animals kill other animals, they don't catch charges. But humans are unique in that we hold our mech stats accountable, even though it tells us we want to go to vineyard, we want to kill, we want to take. All right, well, the knowledge of good and evil is okay. Now you have to make judgment. That's the origin of nation building and law giving. Humans have another dimension to their consciousness that makes us accountable in the way that animals aren't. And that's why, like, people hated that movie Noah. Like, you weren't true to the source material. You're supposed to be. It's like, no, but it's giving you other information.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know if there was rock monsters in the Bible and shit like that. It's weird.
Yo,
but that's some of the books that were left out. There was
an argument with somebody up there. I'm like, this shit is trash.
It doesn't stick to the source material. Like, no, dude, he's trying to make a different point. But I like that they were like, look, the animals are innocent. And it is. Animals aren't burdened with consciousness like we are in that way. So that is a dimension in which, if you believe it, we are made in the image of God, and we are burdened with this need to establish what's right and what's wrong. There's a dimension of morality.
So it's okay for a chimpanzee to take a frog to the vineyard, but I can't eat shrimp.
No, you can't eat shrimp. But again, I listen, my personal belief is that the Old Testament is the work. Like, there was times when God consciousness broke through, but for the most part, because here's another lie. I'm giving away so many Jewish secrets today. I'm probably gonna. But listen, I never agreed to keep them, so I didn't take any kind of oath. So I don't think they can kill me. I don't think I can get in trouble. But there's, like, Jews are credited with being the ones who said there was a supreme being. It's not true. There's religions in Africa where there's a supreme being and there's a pantheon. Judaism was no different. Judaism had a supreme being, but it absolutely had a pantheon. It had powers. It had stratums of God projections, the angels, the creative forces. All of that shit is in Jewish belief system. So one of the books that it got edited, I think the canon was established in like 396 AD. And again, the same people that killed Jesus codified the information about him, and they totally lived up to his ideals, because shortly thereafter, they started controlling all the wars in Europe and served as the basis of Western power in Europe, and arguably carried on the legacy of Rome. Again, the very people that killed Jesus, it's like, we're going to teach the world about him. Yes, we murdered him. Yes, we would do it again, but we hold all the books, and here's the books that you should read. But one of the books that a lot of the early Christians read, and that from Rome, they wrote them letters in North Africa, like, don't read this shit. And the people in North Africa were like, go fuck yourself. You can't do anything. There begins to be an institutionalization, and they started codifying things. But there was books that people were reading that they considered scripture. One of them was the book of Enoch. And in the book of Jude, it references it. And this is another thing. Ask your pastor. Look, why does Jude quote Enoch? And how is this all directly from God if we're quoting books that the Catholic Church, who were totally just led by God, God helped them decide how to edit the Bible and helped them get away with child vineyarding. God was behind all of that, right? I don't know. I don't know, but they made that decision. And what does
They've been
Enoch
pretty
say?
Successful.
Look, Enoch is like, look, all of these fallen angels and shit, they've been fucking up humanity by giving them the tools for ruling and how to build civilization. And again, every civilization that you look at, right? The Greeks, the Romans, all over the world, tribes in Africa, everybody for the most part that has a culture and a ruler has a mythology that justifies that ruler, and it has to do with some beings giving this to them as a legacy. That's so many different civilizations' origin story. I don't know if it's true or not. I wasn't there, but Enoch is like, yeah, these are angels that left, and they've been impersonating God and starting up nations and building up people. So if you read the Old Testament with that information, and I do think that's why that's one of the books that they just completely threw out.
That's exactly why they completely.
It sounds legit.
Right. You can't help but read Genesis and be like, yo, these are demons.
Yeah.
God. Like, if
It
Jesus
sounds
is
legit.
God in the flesh and he's like, look, I don't want to stone this bitch. I don't want to murder anybody.
Wait,
like,
what? We've been
I don't
stoning
want to pick
motherfuckers for mad long. What are you talking about? We were stoning
I
them for
don't-
you.
I don't want to pick a favorite race. I'll sit down with Samaritans. I don't think being a Levite or being a Jew is good enough. I feel like the Samaritan who's racially impure, they helped the person that was beaten by the side of the road. That's the godly person. Like, it has to do with ethics, not ethnicity. That's terribly offensive to people who have put all their eggs in the race basket. We're biologically Jews. We are these people. That's all that matters. Like, nah, your ethics suck. So if you look at it from that prism, it makes perfect sense. That's like, if Jesus is God, he wouldn't have done none of that shit. But because some church fathers or some people that ended up raping thousands of kids like a couple hundred years later, they were like, nope, this is what it means. These are just the books. Fuck those other books. This is the information. This is the interpretation. This is what you should conclude about it. And what I find with most Christians is they're content being told what to conclude about it. But if you actually research it and read it into yourself, I don't think there's any person with Christ consciousness. And again, if God breathed life into us, we have consciousness. We're different. We like, even when an atheist is arguing why God doesn't exist, you're using God to make that argument. You're using your rational mind. You're using consciousness that makes us distinct from all the other biological material on the face of the earth. You're Godding. That's what you're doing. Even if you're Godding to explain away the existence of a supreme being, you're demonstrating that you have that gift. Now, you could think it's just a happenstance of, look, DNA and RNA has been interacting and shit, snouts have been getting longer and, gills have turned to lungs and shit has changed. And eventually it all ended up being this electricity and this fucking gray lump in our skulls that basically creates this thing that we call consciousness. Okay. Or maybe the invisible world just is consciousness and we're meat suits and our divinity, our connection with anything divine resides in that realm. And isn't that where everybody is having the discussion anyway?
Right.
When you pray and talk to God, are you not doing that in your consciousness? When you're arguing with other Christians of whether free will or predestination exists, or whether you should keep the Sabbath or eat pork, when you're having those discussions, are you not doing it with consciousness and language? You're Godding. Like, that's the evidence of God, and God is within. And even Jesus told you that. The kingdom of heaven, no, he's going to be, the kingdom of heaven cometh not with observation. It's within you. It's a set of principles that compels you to abandon Babylon or Rome or the God impersonator. In the absence of God, what power structure has filled that void? These institutions that, if you believe your own book, are the heirs to the legacy of fallen angels. I'm going to show you how to do this, son. And what do they do when they fill that power vacuum? They fuck you all over. And you're trying to, like, the most hilarious thing to me is Christians trying to vote away corruption. Like, if you're a Christian, you already believe every single nation on the face of the planet belongs to Satan. That's what it says in your book. Satan did not take Jesus to the top of the mountain. It's like, look, if you bow and worship me, I'll give you all the nations on the planet, except America.
Except the Republicans.
Not right. If it's Democratic America, it's definitely Satan.
Definitely, yeah, that's
But if
not.
Republicans run America, we might invade some countries. We might spill oil into the ocean. We may lock people up on flimsy grounds. But
Okay, that's not me.
But that is not owned by Satan. Just all the other nations. No, if you're a Christian, you literally believe, if you believe your book, that every single power structure is an affront to God. every single power structure on the face of the earth, not just political, but also religious. It's all fucking corrupt, and you're supposed to be completely separated from it. But again, nobody reads this shit. Nobody believes it.
No, we definitely got to get deeper into. We're gonna keep. I think this is something that we can chop up for a long time to come, because it is an interesting conversation with so much. I will say this though, that makes more sense than a lot of the things I've ever heard people wrap this into. The fact that a bunch of demons came and started all their own nations, and then later on somebody actually divine came and was like, no, this is how you do it. They're like, yo, kill this motherfucker, he crazy.
Right. Right.
That's like some kind of deep mafia business. Like, if you get there before they do, if you know your opposition is on the way and you get there before they do, you can lay enough groundwork to make it so when your opposition gets there, they sound absolutely crazy. And they're threatening everything you've built, and they're going to fuck everything over, so we got to take them off of here. That makes a lot of sense. That's the easy way to get somebody killed, is to just get there before they do. Like, yo, so is the guy going to show up and he going to tell you to give away all your money and shit? Like, I'm telling you, he's crazy. You're going to want to get rid of this guy. It could work. I'm pretty sure it's probably happened in mafia organizations or some shit like that before. That's amazing. But this is something I think we can dig into pretty often. Like, definitely the Job, a lot of stories. The Job story, Elisha and the Bears. There's a lot of classic shit in this book that people have been wrestling with for a long time.
After hit.
Oh yeah, the hits just keep coming. The hits just keep coming.
All the greats.
It's literally a best of compilation. You know what I'm saying?
Gang banging a prostitute until she dies.
Right, and then cutting her body,
and then parting her out into 12 pieces.
Part her out, yeah, like
hit
the
after
cat lady.
hit after hit.
The
hits
hiding in
just
the bush,
keep coming.
hiding in a bush for the one man to fuck you.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. Yeah, so I think this is something we're definitely gonna have to keep returning to. It's always a great place to end up on, because it is something that people wrestle with a lot, and if it's something that we could gain any in any higher principles from, if there's anything we could pull over into the compendium, I'm down with going through it with a fine-tooth comb so we can get the absolute best out of it. I mean, that's also what I'm doing with a couple other manuscripts, the Tao Te Ching and a few other things, the Upanishads. It's stuff that we need to...
Ours.
Yeah, it's stuff that we need to go through so we can form the best possible compound that can be formed under the circumstances that we're in right now. Because the outside world is coming for you. If you don't shield yourself against it, you're going to find yourself deeply indoctrinated into it and throwing Molotov cocktails at people who you think might vote the wrong way. And if that's not where you want to end up, you might want to think about getting together with some friends of yours and either, building the community that you live in, or buying a piece of land and creating a community with like-minded people. But just staying in the midst of it all and expecting the people around you to just change or do things differently without you taking any responsibility on yourself to move yourself and the people that you love to a better place and a better existence, a better atmosphere, that might be an issue. And it might become more and more difficult as time goes on. So that's what this is. This is cult building. So, and if you're still offended by the word cult, you need a little bit more work. Just look up the etymology and see what's going on with this shit. But yeah, it's a fact. Everything you just said is absolute fact. It's some wild shit. Yeah, don't let the bad cults scare you from the good cults. The word cult is right. It's right down the middle. It's neutral. Some guys are good. Some guys are bad. I think the Amish might be a good cult, as far as I know.
Right, but you know what the difference is? A cult is a religion that doesn't benefit the state. And the God of the Old Testament is the state. It's the state. It needs your soldiers. It needs your... So whenever you have a religion that promotes the... So of course a prosperity gospel works great in a capitalistic society where everybody wants to get rich and get rich by any means. I don't give a fuck how you get here. And then you could just say it's the blessing of God. Yeah, but these clothes that you're selling came from sweatshops. It's a blessing of God. I prayed for it and now I'm rich. Stop with your moralizing.
Yeah, then you pull a gun out and cock it. It's a blessing from God. Don't make me repeat it. Nah,
Yeah,
for real.
dude.
Dan Houston said that's what a cult leader would say. We should all be cult leaders. We're all supposed to be the leaders in the cultivation of our highest selves. That's what we're here for. We're not here to be the followers in this single player game. It might be massive multiplayer online, but it's basically, when it comes down to it, it's a single player game that we're in, and we're all in it to make the best experience for ourselves. And sometimes the best experience for you means helping other people, and that's fine too. But it all boils down to us making the best experience for ourselves. And I think the cult model works perfectly for me and for a lot of people I'm close to, a lot of people I love. And that's what I'm in it for. That's what I'm in it for, is to build a dope ass compound that other people can come and learn from and build in and all of that shit. So that's the move. That's why I said, I'm gonna keep sharing this link that we got on screen right now. Go visit the shop if you have the time and the will. www.sweetcode.art, swtko.art. You can enter the code gratitude, free shipping on all orders over $50. I appreciate everybody who's been visiting and buying some t-shirts and hats, and we got art in there. We got a whole bunch of stuff. Leave me some comments too, and let me know what you're checking out in the shop. And yeah, man, I appreciate you fellas making time for this. This was definitely a powerful episode. As you can see, we went over. Our timer stopped a long time ago, but we were still hustling. Got to keep the dice rolling sometimes. It just is what it is. But we'll be back. We'll be back soon, possibly the middle of the week, if not next Sunday, and we'll have some more goodness to chop up with you. I think we may get into the awesomeness that is the story of Job next. I don't know if we're going to go chronologically through it, or we're just going to, I don't know. We'll see. By the next time.
Roll the dice like the Muslims do.
You know what I like to do, what I think would be great is, I think we get somebody who like believes it. You would probably be the biggest on the skeptical end of the spectrum. And I think me and Doobie would probably be somewhere in the middle. And yeah, I think we have Dolomite narrated, so we get the authentic portrayal. Since it's completely from God, it's only right we have the voice of God who demands the barbecue narrated. And we just have it narrated. And I think, like, in time, we could have a channel that just goes through the entire, like, it'll be the entire Bible with commentary. We'd eventually get through the whole thing. And I think by the end of it, I think we would mine a lot of gems. And at the very least, there's a lot of people in America who want to influence culture and influence the way that you vote, influence the way that you think, influence the way that you feel about homosexuals, right? So if nothing else, I think to know it is at least something to hold people accountable to.
Yeah.
So it's like, you do say that you believe this, right? In this book, no problem. Here's what it's telling you to do. Because from where I'm sitting, yes, it seems a lot easier if you're not gay to have your Christian identity stuck in I'm criticizing gay people, instead of having your Christianity rooted in I'm not trying to be rich or powerful here. I'm trying to fade away as far away from Babylon as possible. And I actually just sold my PlayStation 5. I sold all of my memorabilia. I sold all of my fancy shoes. And now I live on a compound and I'm just helping people survive. Because I've actually accepted the curse in Genesis that we are supposed to just live and sweat off, the brow. And yeah, you get a lot from Babylon, but all it does is like soften the curse. Like, I don't have to have a painful childbirth. Babylon will give me drugs when I push a baby out of my pussy. Like, as much as these people say, like, I rely on God, every time you need something, it seems like you're getting it from the same system that the rest of us are. I don't see a real big reliance on God. He gets a lot of the lip service. He gets a lot of the credit for, listen, I'm supposed to hate gays. God told me to. But when it's like, well, sell all you have and give to the poor. I don't know. I don't know about that part.
I can definitely hate the gays, but I'm not sure about the giving away my goods and shit like that.
That seems too much. That seems like a bit much, and I don't know. I'll have to talk to my pastor.
Let's have
to
a
see what he
barbecue
tells me to
about
feel
it.
about it.
Yeah, we'll have a barbecue about it.
Don't bring the shrimp.
That might
Don't
be
bring
the
the shrimp.
biggest gold nugget from today's absurdity
Yeah,
mining.
Leviticus
Leviticus
is
is the original barbecue recipe. This is
and
how
you're
you
not
cook
invited.
it. Even now it makes more sense. They had to shave all their body hair. You don't want to get hairs and clip. You're gonna fuck up the stew.
No,
If
they
you
didn't have barbecue aprons back then, so just shave yourself.
Just shave it all off.
I
Shave it all
love it.
off, and then you can stir the pot.
I love it. This is it. Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all. And like I said, we'll link up. We'll figure out when to get together next. And I'll drop some information in the community section. So for anybody who's following us, if you come here to YouTube, you'll be able to see the updates in the community section, or follow us on Twitter. The links are definitely in the description. So, yeah, man. Yeah, everybody enjoy the rest of the evening and tune back in for the next Bible Deep Dive. I think this is about to get real good. We're going to bring in some more guests. And, of course, as always, anybody who's listening, if you think you might want to hop in for a show or something like that, definitely shoot us some messages and we'll get it worked out.
We're still the blackest show in Rumble, by the way.
We will be for a long time.
YouTube, too.
Yeah, maybe
blacker
on YouTube.
than us.
Nobody. So y'all take it easy. Enjoy the rest of the evening. And I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
Peace.
Bless up. I'll check y'all later.
One.
Metaphysics is going to have to be the quote-unquote religion of tomorrow. If it isn't, you're fucked. Totally and absolutely. Religion of tomorrow.